The June 12th, 2025 Des Moines City Council meeting is now called to order. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz will now lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So to all the public joining us tonight, welcome. So glad you're here. It's full house tonight. We've got a lot on our agenda. For those attending or watching online or on Channel 21, please know that we can't attend to our phones from the dais. So if you have any problems in the broadcast tonight, if you any technical problems, please email cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov. So council tonight, I did receive a little note to just an extra reminder to turn our microphones on when we're talking. So I think some of us forgot that last week. Roll call. Let the record show that all council members are present tonight, and that Council Member Nutting will be participating remotely. And the first item on the agenda tonight is very fun. We have a proclamation, and it regards our farmers market. The purpose of this item is to recognize and celebrate the 20th year of the Des Moines Waterfront Farmers Market. So the first thing I'd like to do is invite Travis, the president of the Farmers Market Board, to say a few words.
Okay, here I go. Well, hi, welcome. Thank you for this moment. I have some board members with me here if you guys want to stand up and say hello. We have Lori, Zori, and Jamie. We could not do it without our board. As you guys know, we are all volunteers with one paid employee, and we run the market June through September, so we couldn't do it without them. We couldn't do it without you guys. We had over 7,000 people on Saturday. Huge. Every single vendor I talked to had record sales, said it was the busiest day they've seen. 7,000 new people for Des Moines, and it's because of you and because of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Travis. Well, also, if you want to stay for just a moment, we'll before the proclamation, if council has any comments or questions for the board or any input before we make this proclamation. Councilmember Harris and then Councilmember Mahoney.
7,000 is a lot. That's really good. It just any anecdotal just idea as to why I'm just, you know, can you ascertain what brought 7,000? That's really like a lot.
Yeah. More. Mostly me. They come from me mostly, but it's also it's also because you know, we have great social media plan. We have a lot of vendors. We did a lot of work on getting specific vendors and a mix of everything. So I mean, I can't speak to that like full-heartedly because we didn't do a survey or anything, but we could do that. But I think we're just getting bigger and people are noticing us more, you know? The more streamlined we get things, the more easier it is to apply. The more social media we post, the more people know where to come.
I'm just saying it's really notable, and
Thank
whatever you're doing, okay, it just basically, you know, quantify it and then, you know, carry on. I mean, because just, yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Matt's next. Thanks. Go ahead, Matt. And then Yoshi, go after that.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, in our overall plans to try to move the city forward, the farmers market, particularly in the summer offering, is fabulous. What a draw to bring people into the community to realize what a wonderful community we live in. And I know that, you know, from the days of Wayne Corey and Ricky Marole and Susie Novak to you guys carrying on kind of generationally, it's a lot of work to be volunteers. It's where, 10% of the people do 90% of the work kind of thing. And I would say that any members of the community or listening or here, you could always use some volunteers or some board members and to keep this going, because it's a good thing, but it requires the effort of the community, not just not just what the city does for you or what a few individuals do. But I know you all work very hard, plus like you running your booth as well. I saw the group all, I loved you guys were all marked in t-shirts and everything else and friendly and welcoming everybody in. And I would say for a first day when I was there, I can't remember a smoother run first day. Of course, it wasn't raining or anything like that.
Weather was nice, yeah. Thank you.
But, yeah, no, I can't thank you guys enough because I know all of the work you do. And at the end of that day, when you put the last thing away, and that's a lot of work to set up and tear down, you put your day in. And a lot of people don't understand how much work that is, but I do, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate that so much. And we are always looking for volunteers if anyone's interested, so.
And where should they contact you, Travis?
dmfm.org. You can go and we'll have all the information on there. That's our website. You can click and pick a day and pick an activity that you want to donate yourself to, and you can do it right there.
Is a comment did you have a comment? You have a comment?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Grace Matsui and then Deputy Mayor Stein.
Just to emphasize some of the things that Councilmember Mahoney said, I think it's really important in this 20th anniversary to recognize all of the board members of the past, all of the volunteers in the past. When I first came to Des Moines, the chili cook-off used to bring in hundreds of people to come in, and there were dozens of organizations that might have smuggled in prohibited meat products to put in their chili because it was really restricted at one point in time by the health department. But it really was an opportunity. I think that the market for me is like our public square, and I look forward to it every year. But I want to acknowledge the contribution of everyone who's been involved in this anniversary as well. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I just want to say it was really a great opening. I saw you there. In fact, I got in my car this afternoon and I had that little spritz bottle that I bought from you. It's rosemary and peppermint, and it's just great because now I spray that every time I get into the car and it just wakes me up. But, you know, even my 88-year-old mother thinks it's just wonderful, you know, and she has a place to sit for a little bit because she'll get a little tired. And it really does a nice job of accommodating everybody in the community in a very nice way. It was a wonderful opening, and the market is really quite great. So acknowledging all the work that's been done over the years to get it to that point, is always important, but you guys are really, really pulling it off well. That was a great opening. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. We're also able to give out $700 to senior citizens in low income who spent that money at the market. So that was also a huge, big day for us. We don't usually give away that much in one day. So a lot of folks came and they redeemed that benefit. So it's worth noting as well.
Well, I love the market. They've talked about the past. I'm excited for this year. I think it's going to be a record year for everyone. Can you, just off the top of your head, mention a couple of really fun days that you have planned for the summer?
Absolutely. So the next soonest event we're doing is the Seniors Day. We'll be posting about that soon. We also have Family Day, where we're welcoming young entrepreneurs to come and have a booth, have some space. We'll have family activities for folks. We're going to do like a do-your-own tie-dye shirt competition or event there. There's also Dog Day, which is really big. We moved it to later in the year because dogs, it's too hot for them in June and July, so we want to be kind to our furry friends. What else are we doing? The Harvest Festival is the last thing we do. It's the big like pie contest and the apple pressing and all that stuff. And we have all of our events listed on our website as well, and we'll be posting throughout the months. We're doing one big thing each month.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you so much, Travis. Well, I think that's good. I'd like to open for a motion. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I move to adopt the proclamation recognizing and celebrating the 20th season of the Des Moines Waterfront Farmers Market.
Second with Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. We've already had discussion and comments. All in favor, raise your right hand. Looks like it's unanimous.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I'm going to read the proclamation, and then we'll have a photo up. So whereas the Des Moines Farmers Market has completed 19 successful seasons and will proudly enter its 20th season, well, already entered its 20th season on June 7th, 2025. And whereas the Des Moines City Council recognizes that the Des Moines Farmers Market continues to serve as a cornerstone community event that offers residents and visitors a diverse and bountiful array of fresh fruits and vegetables, locally sourced artisanal cheeses and flowers, honey, baked goods, handmade crafts, and ready-to-eat foods. And whereas the market also serves as a platform for local entrepreneurs, farmers, and small businesses to thrive, contributing to the economic vitality of the region. And whereas the Des Moines Farmers Market promotes healthy living and sustainability by providing access to fresh, local, and seasonal produce, and by offering live entertainment and family-friendly activities. And whereas the market has become a vibrant gathering place for the Des Moines community, fostering a spirit of connection, inclusion, civic pride, and enhancing the quality of life for residents and visitors alike. And whereas the City of Des Moines values and celebrates the market's contributions to community, health, economic development, and social engagement, now therefore, the Des Moines City Council hereby congratulates the Des Moines Farmers Market on 20 years of outstanding service to the community and extends its heartfelt gratitude and best wishes for continued success in the years ahead. Signed this 12th day of June, 2025. All right. All right, so do we have any correspondence not previously received by the council?
No other correspondence, Mayor.
Thank you so much. So now it's time for comments from the public. Tonight, we also have 3 public hearings a little bit later in the meeting. So if you have comments relating to the subjects of those public hearings, please hold them until that time so that your comments can be on record for the purpose of the hearings. And just for the sake of clarity, I'll tell you what those are. We've got a public hearing about the Woodmont Beach Apartments, a public hearing about accessory dwelling units, and we have a public hearing about middle housing. So if you've got comments on any of those 3 subjects and you want them on record for that, we ask that you please hold them until that time. We have space for that. Let's see. If you're going to be speaking during this current space right now, please keep your comments respectful, and anyone speaking or acting in a disruptive manner will be asked to leave the meeting. Now, also, if some of us have noticed, this is campaign season. So state law prohibits the use of public facilities for making a statement in favor of or against a candidate for public office. So I'd like to ask that you would please refrain from making any statement regarding candidates that are running for public office. If you're coming to the podium tonight, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and city of residence when you come up. So we had no one sign in for tonight for this segment of the meeting. If you came tonight expecting to give public comment during this segment and didn't know you needed to sign in to do that, I'm going to offer you a space to do that. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to stick the, all right, thanks. So next up, we have committee reports. We're not normally operating on this model right now, but we did have a special committee meeting this evening. Our Environment Committee met, and so I'm going to open the table to Chair Harris to report out on that.
Thank you. It was indeed an action-packed meeting, and lots of very good material about the nuts and bolts of the city, and also the environmental improvements for salmon and the future. We had an operations and maintenance overview, and you know, for me, this is one of those things that always just makes me happy, but the staff does a tremendous amount of work inspecting all of the different pipes and drains and detention ponds and stuff like that throughout the city, and it is an endless task, and they do a fabulous job at it. And the fact that you don't notice problems is proof of that. We also had a presentation on WIRA 9, which is the area. The entire region is broken up into areas that are about the maintenance and uplift of salmon recovery, beaches, and all of that stuff, other stuff that we take for granted. There are a lot of exciting projects that the city partners with in order to preserve and improve the coastline and creeks and everything that makes salmon happy. And it's just great work, and somewhere down the line it will redound to projects here, which is fantastic. And we got an update on various capital improvement projects that are relevant to stormwater and you know, all the infrastructure, and all that seems to be going swimmingly. So that's about it.
Thank you, Chair. Next up, we have an opportunity for council members to report out on their service at regional committees. Several of them serve at regional tables, and they did discuss and advocate about policy that's of interest to and impacts our community at times. So I'd like to open the dais up for anybody who has a report on. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, as many of you know, I serve on the Public Issues Committee for the Sound Cities Association, and we had a meeting last night. Number of issues that we're addressing, and one of which is just revising how the Public Issues Committee goes. I don't know if that would be of any interest to most people, but we call it the Pick on Pick Committee. And the committee is getting away from long, detailed reports on things from county agencies, which we have been kind of fallen into the last few years, and is now going to be a little more long-term focused, try to catch issues earlier on, get better feedback from the cities, so we can take that to the PIC and be a participant at the table in dealing with King County and Seattle. One of the other issues is the new House Bill 2015, which is a new criminal justice sales tax, which can be implemented locally at the local level without a vote of the people. It can be done at a certain rate, 0.1%, so 10 cents on a dollar. No, that's not right. No. 1/10 of 1 cent on the dollar. Yes. That's why I'm not an accountant. But anyway, there already exists the ability for localities to do that, but the counties have kind of taken up the space that's allowed to do that, and this would be an opportunity for cities to actually enact a sales tax that would impact them, that is not limited somehow by the county's actions. And so that's a pretty good thing. It can only be spent on criminal justice issues, And there are also involved in that, and sort of related, but moving together, but not necessarily connected, are the grants that are now available for cities and counties to hire additional police officers. And there's a whole application process that is being developed on that. The implementation of the tax structures, however that may happen, is still, there's still a lot of discussion of how to implement what the legislature did. The one disconnect that really happened is we have these grants that allows localities to hire police officers. They are up to $120,000 with a 25% match by the locality, but then they're going to run out of money in 2028. And so there's no real connection as to how to keep those police officers on your force after 2028 unless you come up with another revenue stream. The sales tax is not directly related to that, but it could be the way, depending upon the way the cities implement that and how much they think they can get from that in order to increase the size of the police force. And then lastly, there was a discussion about various, King County is also talking about imposing another sales tax. It's a King County Transportation District sales tax, which again would be a relatively small amount, but like the levy, like the EMS levy that just happened, there are a number of things coming through, and there was some real concern discussed at the meeting about King County just wanting to do all of these taxes, and people are really feeling tax fatigue. And the suggestion was made that we take a look at, are these really new increased taxes, or are these taxes that are continuing what already exists and trying to get some numbers on that, and they're just being inflated at the rate of inflation and population to cover the cost of services. And nobody in the room knew the answer to that at this point in time. But it's a very relevant question because there is a service level that people do expect. But do we want to increase that service level, and are people willing to pay for that? Or are we talking about just continuing it, and we should have the data to accomplish that? It was a much longer agenda than that, but those are the highlights, and so I'm going to stop there. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Go ahead, Councilmember Mahoney.
So I attended two different regional meetings. One was the Puget Sound Gateway project. We discussed the Gateway project. So those that you don't know, it's the Highway 167 that's coming from Sumner all the way through to the I-5, and then of course our own 509 project that skirts the corner of our city, goes on the backside of the airport through Burien on 509, rather than running through our town. Anyway, so they talked about the first phase of 509 nearing completion, the trail opening, and the process progress they're making on stage 2. They expect full opening by 2028 of the full connection. And we discussed some of the tolling fees and some of the feedback, and they're looking at options for low incomes and seniors and so forth like that. The other one was the PSRC, or Puget Sound Regional Council's Transportation Policy Board. Riveting stuff, but our major discussion was over the projects listed through 2040, there's a 21% deficit to the dollars we need to do those projects. And that sounds like a small number, but it's not. It's $72 billion of need. This is an addition to complete the projects. So we started the first phase of what is a priority, what's not a priority, and discussions about recommended revenue generators for transportation, in particular, things like that kind of died at the state level were like electric vehicles. A lot of times they're not paying gas taxes, but they're using the roads. And so do you start charging them more an additional fee for those types of vehicles? without deterring the people buying electric as we try to be greener and so forth. So there's a lot of discussion on that. It's going to be a blend of the two. It's going to be interesting discussions over the summer. But we are tasked with coming up with recommendations as they move into the next legislative session next year. So there you go.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. It's a long meeting, so I serve on the Emergency Management Advisory Committee, and frankly, we spend most of our time discussing disaster scenarios that would seem over the top, but I joined a couple of years ago because the county has a wonderful code red alert system that has had very little compliance or uptake. And I want to encourage everyone in this room, everyone in Des Moines, to just Google code red, code alert, King County, and sign up, and you will get texts in case of emergency things. It used to be just for things like Amber Alerts and so forth, but gradually it is expanding the use cases. I've heard over the years people would say that it was a bit dodgy, that sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, and so forth. I joined up basically because it was my most profound wish to make sure that it was reliable. And I am here to tell you it is completely reliable now. So if you sign up, you will get an alert in case of ever-increasing number of serious things you should pay attention to, and I hope that you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. Anyone else? Okay. Next up, we have the city manager's report, and I'm going to hand the baton to City Manager Catherine Caffrey.
Good evening, Council. I have 2 items, then a quick announcement. We've gotten some questions from citizens who are involved with various groups about a demonstration they're planning at Big Catch Plaza on Saturday afternoon. I think in light of just things that are going on in the nation, there's been some questions about sort of how is our police department going to respond. And so our police department has been working collaboratively with these groups, and we will continue to do so. So we hope it's a productive and positive event, and we don't anticipate any change in our response from what it's been in the past, which is really, these groups do their thing at Big Catch Plaza, and I think a lot of the community's there. So I wanted to make that quick announcement. Next, we've got a presentation from WashDOT related to the 509 project. We do, so I'll invite them up to, as they come on up. We do have a packed agenda, so I've really encouraged our 2 city manager report items to move along expediently because we do have public hearings. So with that, I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Catherine. My name's John White. I'm the program administrator with WashDOT for the Puget Sound Gateway Program. I'm joined here tonight by Andre Chappelle, who's leading and overseeing our 509 construction completion of the corridor. We come here tonight appreciative of, and I'm trying to figure out how to get the PowerPoint up here. We come appreciative of the many decades of partnership with the city of Des Moines. Really in particular since the funding that was enabled us to head towards construction in 2015, we've had amazing participation by city staff, the city engineer, Councilmember Mahoney's participation on our executive committee, and it's really helped us, the local partnership on the Gateway program has really helped us to move things along efficiently, as you're going to hear tonight. And the reference to 509 being complete in 2028 is the schedule that we are on and anticipate delivering. So I'm going to provide just a brief update, understanding being sensitive to the agenda tonight, on where we're at with the overall program. Andre's going to speak to the upcoming opening of the first mile of new expressway that's happening later this month. So that's progress in action. That's very visible. And then we're going to speak a little bit more about the stage 2 construction coming up, the work to complete the corridor. And then, as always, we like to highlight the community outreach, meeting the community out where they're at, that we do every summer. So Gateway is centered around freight mobility and completing the connections, the long planned connections between the ports of Seattle and Tacoma, and I-5, both through the 509 corridor in South King County here, just right up the street here, and the 167 corridor in North Pierce County. We do like to say that we have investments in active transportation, investments on providing better connections to transit, et cetera, but we're really about altering regional mobility by completing these long missing linked corridors. The legislature addressed some final funding needs we had here this session that we were very appreciative of. The construction market's been fairly challenging for us since the pandemic. Things are settling down a little bit, but we're on the home stretch towards completion. We stand at $2.83 billion to complete both corridors. Des Moines, as well as 17 other local partners, assisted us with local funding that has helped us along the way. We have some federal grants that are local, and some of which our local partners have helped us pursue. And then we have state and federal funding. And lastly, there's toll funding that I'll speak to here briefly, a little over $200 million of that. So one of the things going on here right now that we're hitting the home stretch on here is we've been working with the Washington State Transportation Commission. They are the ones that are responsible for rate setting and policy setting for tolling in Washington State. That's been designated to them by the legislature. The legislature authorized tolling for the Gateway program back in 2019. Here we are on the doorstep of opening the first segment of 509, and so we are down to rate setting and then going live here this fall. The toll rates here that you see in front of you for 509, they vary by time of day, very similar to what you would see on the SR 99 tunnel or the SR 520 bridge. It just varies by time of day. The only nuance here on 509 is that the peak toll rate switches in AM versus PM depending on the where the peak direction of travel is. So you have the lower toll rate during the off-peak periods and the higher toll rate during peak periods. The commission has factored in escalation at a little over 2% a year that goes into effect starting in 2031. That helps offset the impacts of inflation. And one of the things that's important to understand about tolling is tolling helps pay for the maintenance and preservation of these corridors. It keeps them intact, it keeps them functioning smoothly, and we just, we're looking at trying to keep pace with inflation so we can keep up on that as we go forward in time. They adopted a truck policy that is similar to what exists for all other tolled corridors, where vehicles that are 3+ axles pay a multiplier on top of the fee for cars. So there's a standard schedule of what that looks like that is available on the Commission's website. And lastly, the Commission has worked with the legislature to adopt a programmatic low-income policy that will go into effect starting with new tolled corridors first before it makes it to existing tolled corridors. So the first ones that will go into effect are when we complete the SR 167 first segment that goes live late next year. At that point, the low-income policy will have been worked through and set in 2026. In December of 26, that will go into effect in both the 509 corridor, the first segment that will have opened this summer, and then the first segment of 167. So there is a final hearing on this on June 17th. It's a virtual hearing. We've been sharing information, us and the Commission have been sharing information with our local partners and working to get widespread, share that widely so that people can participate in that final process as they adopt the toll rates and policies for these corridors. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andre to get into our project delivery.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us back to share the latest on construction progress for SR 509 completion project. For some of you, it's not new information, though I'll quickly go over this vicinity map and some timeline. So we have basically 3 contracts that involve in SR 509 completion project. Stage 1A was completed a couple of years ago. It's primarily SR 99 bridge and some shared noise wall that Sound Transit contractor built for us under construction agreement, and stage 1B here in blue color, improvements on I-5, including new bridge at 216s, new tunnel. We completely rebuilt the I-5 SR 516 interchange, made some improvements on local streets in Madrona neighborhood, and built a half-diamond interchange at 24th Avenue South. And that also included a toll point. And this current contract, we are just a few weeks away to open up expressway for toll testing. End of June, we're going to open that up. It's going to be about 90 days to test the systems and equipment. At that point, no toll will be charged, so it's basically going to be free throughout the summer. And sometime end of September, we're going to have a toll commencement, and at that point, wherever rate going to be adopted by Transportation Commissioner will be charged. So there's a marketing campaign that's happening now, so people understand, and also hopefully everyone's going to have a good-to-go pass. And stage 2, also you've probably seen lots of activities along stage 2 alignment. Kind of at 3 primary locations. We have an auxiliary lane on I-5 in southbound direction between SR 516 and 272nd. We have a Barnes Creek wetland mitigation site that's been completed, and now we're doing plant monitoring, doing kind of a plant establishment things. And of course, the 2-mile segment of brand new expressway, 4-lane expressway 509. We're doing lots of work there right now. And there's also some interchange improvements at 160th, a couple noise walls, 2 roundabouts. So that's what's happening there. This is a nice drone shot of what the first mile of a new 509 expressway looks like. You see a toll point here. You see a tolling vendor installing all the equipment. And how you get basically to this expressway, going northbound, and it's a photograph on the right side, you're going to take that exit right before you get to 216th Street Bridge, and that will take you up on this flyover, and at that point you're going to be driving north towards 24th Avenue South, and that's a toll point where you're going to get charged at the end of September. Going southbound, you're going to enter 509 Expressway from 24th Avenue South and continue drive towards I-5, and then you have options, go to Veterans Drive, 516, or back on I-5. And just a few more photographs of our Veterans Tunnel and some other improvements. Made a good progress, completed the structure, all the fireproofing panels, wrapping up the lighting. There's some paving that's still left to do, but we're going to be ready to open up all new facilities mid-July. So it's just 1 month left, and people are going to be able to utilize all those new facilities. Now on to stage 2. Like I said, lots of earthwork, lots of grading, lots of dirt moving happening within the alignment. We started building what we call Bridge 2, and that's the bridge over Des Moines Memorial Drive. You've probably seen that happening, working on that second abutment. That bridge will be also utilized as a haul route, which would basically help. You don't have to cross Des Moines Memorial Drive with heavy trucks, you don't have to use flaggers, so no interaction between heavy construction equipment and traveling public, so that's a nice benefit. And, you know, working very hard, trying to, and we will open that up to traffic in 2028. Maybe a little bit more details on a scope of work around 192nd and 194th. As you're all aware, the final configuration will close 194th at about around 11th place, and 192nd, we're going to be closing that for about 9 months to build a bridge, and 509 will go under that newly built bridge. So, and contractor proposed to close it concurrently with the detour route, as you've seen on your screen. It will help to reduce nighttime construction, all the disturbances, and make operation more efficient and to be done quicker. Hopefully, end of this construction, all the major earth moving operations going to be completed if we get a little bit more weather like this in September and October. And another kind of important scope piece here, it's at 188. In about 1 month, at this point, we're thinking after July 4th, we're gonna revise how those on and off ramps are configured. All the movements gonna be preserved. They're just gonna be slightly realigned to allow for construction of those bridges for an ultimate configuration of 509, basically going over 188th and Des Moines Memorial Drive. And with this, I'm going to give it back to John.
Thanks, Andre. So as I mentioned, every summer we're out in the local communities at the fairs and festivals, presenting information like we're doing tonight, answering questions, making sure the community is as well informed as possible of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and when to expect improvements or when to expect something, if there's something that might be an inconvenience or a reconfiguration, when to expect that so they can plan accordingly. We will be, I believe, at the Farmers Market on July 18th, so we'll be there,
19th.
or 19th, sorry, thank you. Which is one of our stops every summer, and which we enjoy very much. We have a variety of information that we'll be sharing about roundabout operations, things like that, which people, we're building roundabouts in places sometimes where people aren't as used to them being in their community, and so we're trying to help people adapt and understand the benefits and how to utilize them most effectively. And lastly, we have an ongoing effort to provide, proactive, in advance construction notification so people understand when, like some of those temporary configurations that Andre mentioned are going to go into effect and how to use them. Lastly, I'll say that, on that first bullet there, keep an eye out. The Toll Division has an ad campaign, have marketing going on, really out there trying to encourage people to sign up for Good to Go accounts, and they have a variety of transponders, and a certain number of them that they give away for free. So you can contact them. That information will be out there publicly. We'll share it with the city. Where citizens, if you don't have a transponder, you can get one for free for kind of a limited time only. And that just helps because then you pay the lowest possible toll rate. Right? You don't have to pay the mailing fees and things like that. So we're going to be out. And as Andre mentioned also, the first 3 months, people get to try it out, understand at least how the first mile operates before the tolling goes live. And then the Veterans Drive Tunnel, which will provide everybody access down into the straight shot down into the Kent Valley. That goes live in mid-July. With that, that's the information we had today. Very appreciative of the work and the consideration for the final agreement between WashDOT and the city as we work to wrap up 509. Thank you.
So we're going to have an item on this later in the agenda. So if you have any questions for that item, this is the time to bring them. Any questions, or we're not going to have discussion amongst ourselves, but this will be it right here. Councilmember Harris.
This is just, I can't speak for the good people of Burien, but most people figure out how to navigate the roundabout just by trial and error. And I'm saying that on the plus side, I should have started with the plus side. The plus side is that your messaging on construction has been exemplary. You guys are really putting out alerts far in advance. Really appreciate that. However, I fail to understand you just need some better renderings of what the user experience is going to be. I get questions literally every week going down 24th, like, what's that thing going on there? And I'm like, it's like literally happening, and on Veterans Drive and so forth. And it's close enough to completion that there should just be some simple street level, here's what it's going to be like moving forward. I mean, it's wonderful going to the water, to the market and all that other stuff, but just everything I see on the website is basically has been aerials, and that's not what people need to understand, how it's gonna, and it is gonna be transformational. So you should have those and just take a bow, because it's gonna be really good.
Well, thank you. And one thing I'll mention, and maybe we can recenter this with staff, because sometimes we maybe don't speak to it as often as we should. We have a really great drive-through video for 509. It's on YouTube. We can share it. It's accessed through our website, and it drives you through the user experience of how do you get off at the exits, how you use the Veterans Tunnel, northbound, southbound. It drives you through the entire corridor and back, including the roundabouts up at 160th. So that's something that maybe we should, can do a better job here of reminding people exists, share with the communities, make sure we have the link at the farmers market, right, so that encourage people to go look at that, because it really does, as council member, as you are requesting, it helps you understand, how it will function in the future when it's open.
And we'd be happy to include that in our weekly city manager report, so.
Okay,
thanks
thank
for
you.
letting me know.
We'll send it after this. We'll send it
Yeah,
back.
that'd be great. Any questions from the council about item 5 on the consent agenda before we let John and Andre go on with their evening? Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Very appreciated.
Our next item is a legislative update from Anthony Hempstead. We've been providing you, both through me and Anthony, regular updates throughout the whole session, but now that things are over and the dust has settled a little bit, he's going to give a brief update on sort of what happened out of session related to the city's legislative priorities.
Thank you, Catherine. Good evening, staff, mayor, council, and citizens. I'm Anthony Hempstead, your legislative advocate, and it was a packed 105-day session, a very different session than what we have seen in recent years. Very challenging in that there was approximately a $16 billion projected deficit. And then with all the new people who had been elected last November, with several new statewide elected officials, about a third of the legislature turning over as well, it made for very different dynamics than what we have seen in recent years. But we are going to go through very quickly tonight. There were over 2,400 bills that were introduced, and so there are lots and lots and lots of different topics we could talk about, but we're only going to be focusing on what were the Des Moines legislative agenda and what came out of the session specifically for the city. If you want to go into more details or different questions during the Q&A, happy to do so. Would also suggest that later in the summer we have some of our legislators come and visit and give more a big picture, and also a thank you, because while this is a very, very challenging session, it actually turned out relatively good for the city of Des Moines. First off, looking at funding requests. Beyond money specifically just for the city, we were also looking to change overall policy. One of the biggest policies that would have impacted Des Moines and other local governments was lifting the 1% cap on property tax. And that was very, very active, as I think all of you know, until really the last 10 days of the session, and then it went aside, and other tax policies came forward. The stars had really aligned to potentially pass this new, to lift that property tax this year. The stars aligned, and it still didn't happen. And so there will be discussions with the consortium that was working to get that passed here in the interim, to see if we keep trying to push this, or if this is not, if it just isn't doable. That may or may not be on the legislative session or legislative agenda for future sessions. But what did happen was there was a considerable expansion of the sales tax. Right now, it's really on goods and just a handful of services. It now goes to many, many other services as well. And while most of that is for the state, local governments that have sales tax, we were kind of a bycatch of that. And while we weren't pushing for it, we will be the beneficiaries of that. And this legislation was introduced in the last 10 days of session, and it changed considerably in those 10 days. And so frankly, Department of Revenue and the Office of Financial Management are still figuring out a bunch of these details. There are top-line numbers, including what cities get, but cities or local governments as a lump, not as individuals. I've done some back-of-the-envelope calculations and shared with Catherine and Jeff on what I think really ballpark numbers, and they're significant. So this, but this could also be a moving target because since this was put together so late, there's arguments right now of what's in and what's out of those services because there's some interesting definitions of what should fall within that. But that's a big deal, and we're still trying to figure out the exact details, but there will be more funding for the city from that. Also, much more definitively, the gas tax did go up another 6 cents. Some of that, well, our friends at WashDOT, I guess they're already gone. Most of that does go to the state, but some goes to local governments as well, and that's the first time that's happened in a few years, and that increase works out to about $1.14 per resident, which I'm sure Mike will find a way to spend somehow. Okay. Also beyond that, we talked a lot about public safety. Actually, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz did a fantastic job of recapping that, so I won't go into details beyond just, again, acknowledging that new $100 million program in a very, very difficult budget where there was almost no new funding for different things. This was the exception. 100 million more for public safety. And the idea of the 0.1% councilmanic sales tax is to try to continue funding those positions long-term, although for a city like Des Moines that has a relatively small sales tax yield, that won't work for us. We will have to find additional ways to help fund those officers in an ongoing way. Okay, very local and very what's in it for us, or what happened that benefited Des Moines. We were looking for money for the Redondo Fishing Pier, but shortly after the session started, council did make some decisions and shift to fully fund Redondo. So I shifted and looked to try to get money for the Marina Steps, which we had gotten $1 million the previous year. We went back and we got another $1 million, and that was a big deal. And Edwin Obraz, our new representative, he took the lead on that. It's a team sport, so everyone from the 33rd helped out, and again, we have a great team in the 33rd. Also, while this money doesn't come directly to us, it directly benefits Des Moines, and that is the University of Washington funding for the air quality monitor. And that came through, and the champion for that was Tina Orwell, again, the whole team. But we should note that Councilmember Harris has been crusading on this for, I think, well before he was a councilor. And well, again, this is a team sport by the whole council. Great that has actually come through. And we're pushing Commerce hard to move that as quickly as we can, because we know that UW is ready to go as soon as that contract is signed. But that's $440,000 for that air quality monitoring. A wide variety of different activities happened with the airport, including the group that is looking for a potential second airport and how to take pressure off of all the flights at SeaTac. That group, it had been stripped of both its funding and work plan. Those got restored. And also for alternative aircraft fuels, funding is in the budget for that. And a variety of air quality projects that could be implemented in our area. Funding was preserved for that, and that was a fight to get that in there. Notably, we did lose the $1 million that had been in the budget last year for helping with port packages, as that hadn't been spent. That was swept, so we will have to work to get that replaced for next year. But there is port money in line before that state funding is supposed to be spent, and the port money hadn't been spent yet as well. Lastly, on the ferries, we made a good run on the Mosquito Fleet Restoration Act. It got all the way through the House but died in Senate Transportation. It will certainly be back next year because all the bills that didn't pass this year, since we have a 2-year session in effect, they will start back next year as introduced and can continue their progress. And we know Representative Nance wants to do that. So I'll stop right there, but happy to take any questions or comments. But again, this was a good session overall for Des Moines, despite the very difficult year, and we have our great legislators to thank in both the 33rd and 30th, who've been very, very helpful.
All right, any questions? I can't see Councilmember Nutting. I don't know if he has. Councilmember Nutting, do you have any questions?
I do not.
All right. I do have a couple. A comment. It's disappointing to me that the most tangible resource for practically listed on there, especially with the airport and ferry, is the one that was eliminated, the $1 million for the port packages. Like, that is like boots on the ground money, tangible experience by citizens, right? That was pretty disappointing. Could you clarify about the work plan being restored with the COG? Is it, because I was trying to find it someplace. Does it just say they get to have a work plan and now they have to develop it? Or is there like, last time there was like certain prescribed items that went on that? Is that in this?
Yes, it's truncated from what it was, and I will get that language and shoot it over to you and anyone else who's interested.
Like with a reference, like an RCW?
Yeah, because again, this was such a weird year
Okay.
in many ways, but it was all in the budget as opposed to a separate bill.
Okay.
So this is budget proviso language, which is not how you want to do it, but given the year, this is the way that it could be done.
Anything would be thankful.
Yes, and so it means it expires in 2 years, but the hope is that COG will get its job done within 2 years. We may be a little optimistic on that, but if it doesn't, it could go in as another budget proviso, or it could go in as a bill.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilmember Harris.
This is just a shameless excuse to thank you for your efforts, but other than that, I did invent something. Is the service tax, is that going to be unconstrained? In terms of uses?
Yes, it's general fund money. So it's the best type of funding from a city perspective. It's unconstrained. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2 quick things just to follow up. Anthony referenced on that expansion of sales tax, which Councilmember Harris just referenced. I am reluctant to give you all any projected numbers because we're already receiving word that's going to be legally challenged. And so I don't want to get hopes up. So I just want to put that on your radar that we're already hearing, it will face a lot of challenge if it gets implemented. But we're hopeful. And then the second thing is Anthony also referenced on the public safety sales tax That is an area that we are also working to get better information on. The eligibility requirements, basically the strings that come with that sales tax, can be pretty convoluted in the bill's language right now. And so Chief Bowe is working with his kind of colleagues, as well as Jeff is kind of paying attention to what he's hearing from his finance areas to sort of see what all of those are. But we anticipate having more information in the next couple of months on really what that means to implement that sales tax and how it can be used. So we're working pretty hard to find the details out on that.
Yeah, and the Criminal Justice Training Commission, they're tasked with putting together all the rules and regulations of how this has worked, and they just got it. So they haven't written it yet. so lots and lots of questions, but I think they're supposed to get it back within a month or so, which will be challenging. Yeah.
All right, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
But just to be clear, separate and distinct from the services sales tax, the criminal justice sales tax can only be spent on criminal justice issues and not. Those are two separate things.
Correct.
I'm not sure that was abundant.
Correct. Yes. Yes. No, exactly.
Thank you.
All right, looks like there's no other hands.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, next up, we have our consent agenda. Could the city clerk please read the agenda for us?
Item 1, approval of vouchers. Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 3, water resource inventory at Area 9, interlocal agreement renewal. Item 4, 2026 South King Housing and Homelessness Partners work plan and budget. Item 5, amendment to interagency agreement between Washington State Department of Transportation and City of Des Moines. And item 6, contract for construction support services with Muffet and Nickel. And that concludes the consent agenda, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Nutting.
I move to approve the consent calendar as read, Mayor.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Mahoney. Is there an item that any council member wishes to pull? Councilmember Harris.
Item 4, please.
All right. All right, thank you. Any others? All right, so so we're considering items as read, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, thank you very much. All right, I'm passing it to you, Councilmember Harris, for item number 4.
Thank you. I don't want to take a lot of time on this. I have just stopped voting for this skip stuff. It's one of those deals where you either believe in the long-term mission. It's not a large amount every year, but at some point, I've been at this a while now, and at some point, we need to have projects that are on the board for Des Moines, and I don't see them on the horizon. And until I do, I choose not to vote for this sort of thing. Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? Councilmember Nutting.
I just was going to make the motion, Mayor.
Oh, all right. Well, I did have a comment. You know, it is a partnership of, I think, 13 cities or 11 cities, and amongst all those, we agreed to be able to pool our money so that we could have a significant impact on the South County region, and that with the amount of money that we receive, I think it's $33,000 a year for that, our 1406 funds, that we're not able to have a significant impact on affordable housing. So when you consider how much we've contributed, we have had a pretty significant input into our community. I think it was called Victorian Place last year. And so every community gets their opportunity, I think, as the wheel goes around. And I think we were one of the first to be able to have a project in our community as part of this partnership. So I was pretty thankful for that. So I guess that's my opinion on yes or no for the SKIP partnership. All right, let's see. Did you raise your hand to make the motion, Councilmember Nutting? Go ahead and read it.
I move to enact draft resolution number 25-046, approving the 2026 South King Housing and Homeless Partners budget and the 2026 work plan.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Mahoney. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Grace Matsui, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Harris, motion passes 6-1. All right. Pages. Next up, we have our first public hearing, and it's in regard to the Woodmont Madera project. The purpose of this agenda item is for the City Council to hold a public hearing to consider the Woodmont development on 26915 Pacific Highway South. I will now open the public hearing. We will begin with the staff presentation from Community Development Director Rebecca Deming. And do you have a team member with you, just the two of you? Oh, or just the one of you? Okay. Sorry.
She does the work of two.
I know, I'm looking at Laura while I'm talking, but she's sitting there. No, not me. Okay, go ahead, Rebecca, thank you.
Mayor, Council, this item is the development agreement for Woodmont Beach Apartments, LLC. This is an advertised public hearing to consider the development agreement for a mixed-use project at 26915 Pack Highway for 290 market-rate residential units with 7,500 square feet of commercial space on a 7.89 acres. The recommended motion is to adopt Resolution 25-052 approving the Woodmont Beach Apartment LLC development agreement and authorize the city manager to sign the development agreement substantially in the form as submitted. A development agreement is authorized by the state of Washington and the city's municipal code. The provisions allow the agreement to address development standards, including design standards, phasing, review procedures, vesting, fees, and other similar development requirements. The DA provides the owner with assurances that the development regulations that apply to the project won't change during the term of the agreement, and provides the city assurances about what to expect from future development. The proposed project, as mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, is on Pack Highway. The concept plan contains 6 5-story mixed-use buildings plus a 1-story clubhouse. Building 1 would have a minimum of 7,500 square feet of ground floor commercial along Pack Highway. What is this one? Right there. The development agreement terms include dimensional standards, including height and setbacks, with a minimum height at 45 feet for the main buildings and 10-foot setbacks between the buildings and 30-foot setbacks along the property lines. The recreational areas will include 63,000 square feet with 4,000 square feet of children's play equipment. There will be between 400 and 500 parking spaces subject to traffic impact analysis. The project approvals will be consolidated to a single public hearing held by a hearing examiner. And the application fees have also been consolidated to an amount of $80,000. The public hearing will be required to be advertised. This public hearing was advertised in the paper on May 29th, mailed to property owners and residents within 300 feet. It was also posted on the city's website and at City Hall and distributed to all of the city's standard public notice distribution lists, and that contains cities, state agencies, special districts, tribes, and other interested parties. If the development agreement is approved, the applicant's project would then go through full project review. for both city standards and the requirements within the development agreement, including a traffic impact analysis review, environmental review, crime prevention through environmental design principles as part of its design review process. The project approvals will have a public hearing with separate noticing, which would be similar noticing that we did for this hearing, for the actual project approval. So everyone who was invited would come to that public hearing for the actual public, or would be invited for the public hearing for the project approval itself. Now I'm going to invite up Meredith, who is a representative of the property owner, to explain more about the project.
Hello, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Meredith Holzmer. I'm Managing Director with Mill Creek Residential. We are a national developer, builder, owner, and property manager of all types of rental housing. We're active in about 23 local offices throughout the United States, and I'm in our office in Bellevue. We're very excited about the potential opportunity here to provide a new mixed-use community in Des Moines, which we believe is an area that is currently underserved by high-quality new market-rate rental housing. Site overview here, a few photos of the existing property and an aerial. I'm sure you're all familiar with the location. The property has been vacant for at least 20 years now. When a restaurant burned down, there is one small single-family house on the west side that is also currently vacant. And the property, at least as we've found in our due diligence, has not been very well maintained during that time. Let's see, the property, as you can see, is very long and deep. It has relative to its almost 8-acre size, it has a pretty small amount of frontage on Pack Highway and an even smaller frontage on 16th Avenue South. And we will be proposing a connection point to Pack Highway and also a residential-only connection point to 16th Avenue South. We're not proposing any connection points to the adjacent, through the shopping center. We don't have access to that, or to the residential streets to the north. And so, I know Rebecca stated at this stage, you're just considering the development agreement. We would still need to go through the actual project design process, but we wanted to share a little bit about our vision for this future community, which we are calling Modera Woodmont Beach. If you have an opportunity to visit the Mill Creek website, you'll see Modera is one of a handful of brands that we have. It is our flagship brand. And you can see examples of other communities we've completed. So our design vision, as Rebecca mentioned, the retail fronting along Pack Highway and a series of 6 5-story residential buildings, one of them having the retail. These buildings are not woody walk-ups. They are interior corridor, elevator served, controlled access, apartment communities. Let's see. And as Rebecca noted, it's 100% market rate community. We're not accepting any subsidies for housing for this. It's strictly market rate. We're including separate clubhouse amenity. There's a kind of conceptual rendering there. We'll have a state-of-the-art fitness center, club room lounge, opens up onto our resort-style pool and hot tub. Other amenities that we're including will be a work-from-home lounge, the children's play area, landscaped open space, electric vehicle charging, a fully staffed property management office located on site, and we manage our own properties. There'll be a 10-foot wide, densely landscaped screening buffer around the perimeter of the property. The residential portion of the parking will be gated. For the retail portion, which we're conceptually showing, I don't know how to do the pointer, but in the lower right corner there, along the ground floor with the brick portion of the facade, that will have customer parking right out in front. For the 7,500 square feet of commercial, we're envisioning dividing it probably into 4 different suites ranging in size of 1,500 to 2,500 square feet, likely tenants would, focused on small businesses. We have our own retail practice group. We've also engaged a couple local brokers to get input, and, potential tenants could be fitness or other personal services, financial services, medical, dental. We've had other buildings have had a lot of dentist interest lately for some reason, or any variety of general merchandising. And for the apartments themselves, I wanted to show you some representative interiors. These are actual photos from a community that we opened recently in North Seattle called Modera Northgate. And this is the exact level of finish that we are envisioning for the apartments here. So all of the apartments' homes will have air conditioning, solid surface quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances. We currently use Samsung, including front load washers and dryers, tile backsplashes in the kitchens, fabric roller shades, and luxury vinyl plank flooring throughout the entire home, LED lighting, that sort of thing. And now I will, I think, turn it back to staff, and I'm available for questions.
That's all we have to turn it over for the public hearing. Thank you.
So it is now time for the public comment portion of the public hearing. So please, as you come to the podium, is this our sign-up sheet for this portion? All right, thank you. So as you come to the podium, please understand that anyone speaking or acting in a disruptive manner will be removed from the meeting. When you come up, please state your name and your city of residence. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first up I have is Tina Jurowitz. Jurowitz. All right, thank you. Come on up, Tina.
Thank you. My name is Tina Jurowitz, and I live in Des Moines. My address is between 268th and 16th, so I'm right there on the corner, close to where they're going to be building this. I have some serious concerns. Some of the concerns have to do with traffic. On my way here today, it was blocked from 250th down to 272nd. That is a main thoroughfare. That is 16th. The way they've got this built, people can only drive right out of the apartment complex or down to 16th. They cannot go left. So that means all of the traffic from those apartments are going to be going to 272nd and to 216th. 272nd is a major traffic issue. There's constantly accidents there, but not only that, it is so busy that people sit in the middle of the intersection and block everybody else from going. So my biggest concerns are there is no infrastructure being put into place for all of this traffic they're going to be bringing in. The retail space that is right next to it, which is the Safeway parking lot, they cannot keep those stores filled now because of the crime that is going on there, the unsafeness, the costs, and yet they want to bring in more retail when right next to where this is going to be, they can't keep those places open. So she talked about having fitness there. They just closed the fitness down the street. She talked about dental. They just closed the dental place. She talked about all the places that she talked about have not been viable for the locations that are already there. We already have a ton of space where we could bring in retail. There's also a ton of space in downtown Des Moines that could also bring in retail. I don't see the reason to bring in more retail when you're not using what you already have. So that is a concern. Another concern is we are right next to the school. I am constantly taking beer bottles, needles, all kinds of garbage, condoms out of my front yard that the kids see on their way to school. How are you going to address bringing apartments in, market value or otherwise, when we already have those issues that are not being addressed? I've had cars drive through my fence into my yard. My neighbor had the same thing. Nothing's been addressed about the traffic there or the issues there. Nothing's been addressed about the fact that kids are trying to walk back and forth and traffic is causing issues. So those are all things that I have a major concern with, let alone, this is a small area, right? It's just a bunch of small houses. My family has been there since the 70s. And there's no room to bring these buildings in. I understand there's land, but there's no infrastructure. The schools can't handle it. The traffic can't handle it. We have 2 light rails that are coming in, but they can't even tell us when those are going to be completed to try to take some of this traffic. So my concern is no infrastructure to support it.
Thank you, Tina. Next up, Nikki Crawford.
Hi, my name is Nikki Crawford. I live in Des Moines. We are on one of the back streets behind where the development would be. I am an active member of the PTA of the local school there. Our school was stretched to capacity and stretched to the limit already this year with other local housing that opened up. So my main concern is how do we benefit the children in the area that we already have, let alone bringing more in. We can't accommodate them in that area as it is now. I do know it probably causes a little bit of influx because we are technically Federal Way Public School District, but we are in your community, or in our community. We live, shop, contribute to Des Moines, not just Federal Way. So, as Tina stated, there is much garbage, things we don't want our children seeing on the way to school in the area already. We have a neighbor, and I'm sure he'll address it, who was physically hit by a car trying to walk his children to school. We very often ask for police cop presence in the area in the morning. We don't see a lot of that. Traffic is atrocious at school hours and after school hours. The backup down the hill is rough for anyone coming home. It takes a very, very long time for us to get into our community or out, even up to 72nd or down 16th. I just feel like if we look at what positive things it might bring to the community, the possible negative impact on our community far outweighs that. And I know she presented a lovely presentation and how it looks and it's nice, and they're gonna have a dog park and a pool. That would not benefit the entire community. If I understand how she said right, it would be within, their housing structure. That isn't bringing any benefit to the rest of the community, as anyone, would hope if this was in. I was also discussing with some other neighbors. We just feel like if they need to put housing in there, it would be better to have maybe single-family dwellings that would be where the residents would be more vested in the community, and we would, be able to add to the community rather than build a community inside a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Next, Matt Jurowitz.
I'm Matt Jurowitz, live in Des Moines. My wife mentioned the address right just around the corner from this location. Most of my concerns have been voiced already. It really is the density, the infrastructure and services. One other concern brought up, mentioned by Councilmember Harris earlier, was talking about emergency management, and we just see more and more of how little it takes to just have some small issue turn into a big hullabaloo emergency that just grows, and this project is putting 290 apartments and some retail that customers will have trouble getting in and out into and everything, and just how little it takes to cause a blockage when it's not close enough to the new, the extension of light rail without better ways of connecting to be able to use that. What's there is already just a hassle of trying to get in and out. Everything is limited. Everybody makes ill-advised and illegal moves because it's not really allowed to go what it takes to do legally, into and out of businesses, the apartment complexes that are up, along 272nd. That's you know, everything's a hassle. There's always just something, people blocking intersections because the delays are just that bad, and you know, we had, you know, flooding at the other apartments not too far away, not that long ago, and just how widespread, you know, there's the ripple effect of issues like that, along with the, you know, the traffic and the density growth, and without doing the services to use the retail, all the things that are shut down up and down 99 for, you know, for miles both directions, is, if we can't use that, how is that gonna get better with adding density?
Thank you, Matt. Next up, Nathan Roenick.
Thanks for taking time today to hear people. I'm relatively new to this community in the Woodmont area. I moved there with my family and had some kids there that are growing up. And I too am concerned on the things that are brought up here. I do not see how the apartment complex can handle feeding out onto 99 for people that are going to want to make it to I-5. They're going to be too close to the intersection, and they're going to come out the back side of the apartment complex onto 16 and block up 16 and 272nd to get to I-5, and the parking garages down along I-5 or the light rail there. Another concern I have, since my property is pretty close, I don't think a 10-foot buffer will be big enough between the 470 car-ish parking lot that's going to be there and the buildings and the houses that are in the existing neighborhood. People that live in apartments are kind of come and go, and they don't tend to invest in the community. I'm really hoping that a neighborhood could be put in there where people want to actually invest in that community and build it up. And growing up, they put a similar apartment complex near my parents, and at that strip mall area next to it, like a local grocery store went out of business. The QOC moved in. They embedded a sheriff's office in it because it had so much crime. It went out of business. There was a bowling alley there that was even converted into a Hooters at one point. They couldn't even stay in business either. And I just fear for that Safeway area and the people around it that they're going to have that same problem in a short period of time for people that are there that are not invested in the community.
Thank you, Nathan. Next is Jess Anden. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Jess. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for giving me an opportunity to talk about this development. My name is Teshim Awadom, and I'm the closest person who lives next door to that place. And I have few concerns since I'm the first person to deal with the whole situation. First of all, my first concern is placing that big apartment between two state routes, which is 509 and 99, and have exit on both state routes is creating additional safety crisis for the neighborhood, because we have the A line, which is King County's known criminal hub, basically. A stop is right there on Pike Highway, and giving away exit on 509, which is 16th Avenue South, is additional problem for us, for residents. And the second is also that little square behind that giant lot is couple of the houses are adult family homes, which we have more than 15 seniors with disability, which that driveway is right behind the buildings. That creates basically a serious safety hazard for our senior residents. And that is my biggest concern. And one more thing also, I recently got run over by a car at 16 and 268 South. I have witnesses here. I was walking my kids to school, and then I got hit by a car. I survived it. But that school itself, you guys are having already a proposal hearing coming up to add containers into that school because the school is already overwhelmed. And then having additional 300 families to already a school that is trying to add 2 or 3 container classes, the school needs to be redone in first place. And the traffic, morning from 6:30 a.m. all the way till 10 a.m., 2 p.m. till 5:30 p.m., it's nowhere to go. It's nowhere to go, and then it's extremely dangerous. We're talking about state route. All these cars that came off 188 on 509 are using that street. And then having an exit that big behind assisted living places is a serious concern. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close, thank you for, let's see, I think I'm supposed to ask if there are any more. Here it is. Sorry about that. All right, thank you. That's all the people that have signed up. So is there anyone who didn't get to sign up to speak that wishes to speak? Okay, I'll ask a second time. Is there anyone who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak? And for the third time, is there anyone who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak? All right, thank you. So this now is time for questions from the council. So council, do you have any questions? Please, questions only. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I have 2 questions for the developer of the project. Come on, if you would. Although we're not really discussing the traffic yet, what are your plans at this point to help manage some of the traffic in and out of that?
Well, we actually do have our traffic consultant here also, who's done some preliminary analysis for us, but, you know, Pack Highway, my understanding is right in, right out is the only option that we could get from WashDOT anyway. And, you know, so that will help. You won't have large queuing, people looking to go left in or left out. I think that will help mitigate it. You know, and as I mentioned, the back access of 16th, that is resident only, so you won't have customers coming in and out that way. You know, we are planning to have gates, so you won't get people trying to cut through. And the gates will be set, so there'll be some queuing space to allow for that. But, you know, we need our residents to be able to get to work and to school and the places that they need to go also, in and out. So I think, you know, we're pretty comfortable with the traffic analysis that we've run, and obviously the city will have the opportunity to review that as well.
And the second question is, what is the marketing plan to get some storefront, to get the retail space filled as fast as possible? There have been some other places in town that just simply haven't filled very fast. And that creates ugly open space in the front. So
Sure, I mean, we certainly want it to be full as fast as possible too. You know, vacant storefronts don't look as nice for the apartment residents, for the curb appeal of the building, and obviously we're hoping to get some income from rent, you know, for building these new spaces. We generally start marketing the spaces shortly after we start construction. So we, you know, we'll hire a local broker. We have an internal group too, but we'll hire a local broker, and they, you know, post it on the commercial websites, put together flyers. We put together space plans. And, you know, they can reach out to the contacts that they have, tenants that are because they represent both tenants and landlords, to try and bring people in for tours. Based on past experience, tenants usually need to be able to at least walk around the shell of the building. So, you know, once we have the floor on and, you know, they can stand in the space and see what it's gonna look like. It doesn't have to be completely done, but there needs to be something there to really generate interest. You know, I think that our underwriting, our rent expectation, we've set it, you know, we're willing to accept, you know, lower rents, right? And we certainly wouldn't expect, you know, same rent here as we would in, you know, downtown Bellevue next to Amazon or something like that. So I think we have, based on the market studies we've done, realistically conservative expectations on rent, which should help attract you know, more tenants. And then we also, you know, provide a tenant improvement allowance. And we've also on past projects, and it's usually on a tenant by tenant basis, but since we are our own construction company, also we can do the build out for the tenant as well. Sometimes that helps with smaller tenants that don't have the expertise, or they at least want us to do the MEP fire alarm work for them. So we have the flexibility to do that too.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mahoney and then Councilmember Grace Matsui. Oh, was she first? I wasn't looking that way.
No.
All right,
no, it's
thank
fine.
you. Go ahead.
Really quick, a couple questions, and I don't know if this is for the city attorney, city manager, or you, Rebecca. But could you explain to the public what's involved in a development agreement?
Take that?
Just the layman's version?
I think we had a slide on that right up front. I don't think I have that. I think it was the first slide. Yeah, so we have this slide right here. So it's really just kind of setting some of the standards, talking about the phasing and the process. And so I think later in the slide deck, there was a slide about the future design review, the environmental work, and then the traffic analysis. And then that stuff will actually have its own hearing that will be open to the public, that citizens can provide comment on, and then we'll have an independent decision maker who will then make a decision based on that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure folks understood that. And that's what we're making a decision on today, is just to go forward with that agreement, to have all of those things occur.
Yes, the preliminary stuff, yes.
Is there any work or partnership or meetings with the Federal Way School District to discuss the impacts?
So I did call the school district and talk to them. They provided me a copy of their facility plan, which included an estimate on student generation rates based on market rate apartments that they've had. At Woodmont, they would expect this project to be about a classroom size amount of kids, obviously spread out. Obviously, it would be spread out among all the grades. Total between elementary all the way to high school would be 33 kids. And that's based on their last market rate apartments. They do get a lot more kids when it is affordable housing. They had a much higher generation for kids at affordable housing, but they do get a lot less kids on market rate apartments. And so they provided their last market rate apartment generation rate, and that's what they provided me and showed me those numbers.
Okay.
So it was about one classroom size of kids.
Thank you. This one's for
They said they might bring someone. I don't know if we have someone here from the school district. Okay. They said they might send someone, so I thought I'd ask.
The last one is probably going to be for the police chief. This current lot, as it stands today, what's been, have we had issues with crime and homelessness on this property as it stands today and over time that you're aware of?
Sorry,
hallway for most of the presentation.
So-
But yeah, I don't have all the statistics from this individual lot. I do know that there's been some issue with on-house people living on the lot. There's been some cleanup work on the lot. So I know there is some history with this lot, being basically a non-activated lot, right on the highway. So there has been some history with crime and vagrancy.
All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
All right, Councilmember Grace Matsui, and then Councilmember Harris.
I wanted to go back to Ms. Holzmer real quickly about the retail space. Thank you, Rebecca. Looking at the website that you mentioned, the Moderna with Mill Creek, it looks like you have 13 successful projects in the Puget Sound area, including some in Shoreline and Lacey. What's been the reception on filling those spaces in the retail or commercial space?
Sure. Those two particular communities do not have retail. Lacey is a pretty maybe conventional high-end garden-style apartment community, and Shoreline, location and zoning, there doesn't have retail on that one. But, we have a community under construction in Kirkland, in the Bridle Trails neighborhood, close to Bridle Trails State Park. That one does have ground floor retail. We're still about a year out, at least a year out from completion, and we're already negotiating a letter of intent for 2 of the 3 spaces. So that's really, positive there. We've completed a number of communities in various neighborhoods in the city of Seattle, a lot of which have ground floor retail. And, there's market cycles for retail demand, just like there is for anything else. Sometimes we have, really early high demand. We had a couple communities that delivered in 2021, 22 post-COVID, when there was a lot of existing retail space that was vacant. And so that was a little more challenging, but we've filled all those up now and they're all operating.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned some of the advantages that your spaces have because of your willingness to assist folks who are coming in, rather than a traditional triple N space that we probably see throughout the majority of our city, where if you want to make any sort of improvement to a space, you have to come in and pay for it yourself. So it sounds like you offer some services, whether it's the build out or design, when new tenants come in. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's usually a negotiation by tenant. There's either an allowance, dollars per foot that's provided, that would, be provided, and for new construction, it's generally higher because there's, can be more work to do. We are also exploring building out a back corridor and some shared restrooms because these would be smaller spaces, and so having every individual space build a restroom, that's a big expense, and so, we're obviously haven't finalized the design, but we're looking at that so that some of those services could be shared, with a keypad or something like that.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Harris.
No, don't go away. I understand the public's, this is a cockamamie process. It doesn't work the way the public expects it to. So I just have some, you may or may not, but because you guys do this a lot, you may have these stats. Do you, so it's your intent to develop and then provide ongoing management?
Yes.
Like not just transfer to, some other thing. I mean, all my questions are hypothetical because it is this.
Yeah, we have a local operations team, and that includes both, on-site staff at our communities as well as regional staff. I anticipate that this community would probably have 6 full-time employees on site. Probably an additional person during lease-up for support. We also offer an employee rent discount program because it benefits. Okay.
No, that's more than
Yeah.
people tell me I interrupt, but that's more than that was really good. My colleague is getting the blues right now, so I just want to. Do you have? So this Modera thing, it's sort of a template this is the interiors and the construction are things that you have used. This is not bespoke I mean, you use the same basic construction approach in your other.
Yes and no. I mean, there's always local building codes and means of method, right? Like our buildings in Southern California have stucco, and we wouldn't do that.
No, but I mean, like if I went to your website and I
Yeah.
looked at a project that you've done here,
Yeah.
one would expect.
I think you would find a lot of consistency, yes.
And would that also extend to like landscaping and stuff like that?
Yes, I mean, it depends a little bit on the setting. We have built some ultra-urban, center of Capitol Hill, and so most landscaping's on the roof, frankly, but,
Yeah.
but yes.
Yeah, sounds intriguing. Do you have stats as far as like the average tenure of these kinds of, for residents? Expectation?
Not specifically. I would say that, we generally aim for at least 50% retention on renewals. Leases, standard one-year lease. Sometimes we offer, a couple, some varying terms, but our goal is always to get at least 50% retention. Benefits us, saves us on the expense of turning the apartment, and
Did you intend to do retail from day one, or was it some analysis that said, hey, this is gonna pay?
I think,
Just a template.
day one, I think we were a smaller amount, but we worked pretty closely with staff and with Catherine to kind of balance, all of our goals and come up with something that would work, that we could stand behind.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
I'll just stay just for a minute in case.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. I think most of my questions are going to be for staff. So will a full-on independent traffic study be done?
Yes.
Okay. Are we not bound by legislation to not approve any single-family plats on any projects more than one house?
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
Single-family plats, are we bound by legislation not to approve anything under a duplex anymore?
I think, Rebecca, can you talk about the density? I think what Councilmember Nutting is getting at is the density requirements the city has to meet for like additional housing.
So this is not zone single family, so we wouldn't be approving, single family would not be allowed on this without rezoning the property. And there's nothing that prohibits us from approving single family on single family zoning. But what I think you're trying to get at is I couldn't prevent someone from doing duplexes anymore where we used to be able to prevent it and require single family.
And we have state requirements that we are supposed to meet. My question is do we have state requirements that we need to meet by we have certain goals that we need to meet by certain times?
Correct. We have certain housing targets we do have to meet. That is correct.
And with a project this size, it helps us meet state goals that we're required to do.
That is correct.
That's all my questions, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, thank you. So what are those requirements we have to meet as far as additional housing?
I'd have to pull it up since we're not doing comp plan today. I think it's 3,800. That is correct.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to be doing questions here. I believe it is 3,800. And what is the timeline?
2040. It's a 20-year target that started in 2020. Yeah, it's a 20-year target.
So this would be approximately
2040 is the deadline. Yeah.
Yeah. So this would be 300 homes towards the.
That's correct.
Or is it 300 homes? It's 300 living units, right?
Units, correct.
Units.
290 units towards that.
Okay. Thank you.
In the higher density category, which is the harder category to meet.
Well, one other question, and I guess this would be of the
development team. Do you have any idea what the market rate for apartments in this area is right now? What, you had to have calculated it when you put the project together.
I mean, not that I feel comfortable sharing. We've obviously done market analysis, right? I mean, we wouldn't, try to develop something if we didn't think that there was willingness to pay. We've toured a number of, neighboring communities, really. There's been a couple new communities built nearby in Kent and Federal Way that we've toured. We have looked at existing product in Des Moines too, and as I mentioned, we see that there's an opportunity. It's a little bit of a donut hole, and we think there's an opportunity to fill it with brand new product.
Thank you. And it's unfortunate we don't have a representative from the school district here because they're obviously making a distinction between market rate housing and affordable housing and what the density is going to be as far as kids for the school district. Do we have any, you said that you were shown the plans. The Federal Way School District, much as the Highline School District is, has a grand plan out there and stage at which they are planning to replace schools. Do we have any idea what their intention is as far as replacing Woodmont Elementary?
So all they told me is that Woodmont is on the list of possible improvements as part of Phase 3 bonding. They don't guarantee it. They don't, it's just on the list of the possible schools as part of Phase 3 for their bonding.
Okay. And then there was also some question that I asked last week with regard to Sound Transit. There was some question as to whether or not the Federal Way School District would be utilizing the Redondo Park and Ride for an elementary school, either moving Mark Twain or somehow doing there. So it would help to know, from the school district exactly what how they're anticipating holding or dealing with.
I contacted Federal Way School District about Mark Twain, and they said they had not made any final decisions, and so they had no information to share.
Okay. But as far as concurrency, this is what people are asking about, is saying that the capacity is not there with the current schools. That's not something that we can deal with. That's the school district's responsibility.
They told me they do have capacity across the entire district, just not at the Woodmont school.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other hands? I have a couple questions for the developer. This is clarity, came from a community question about the possibility of Road C getting access to 17th, but you did talk about a perimeter and a fence, so is there a possibility that would change?
No, I mean,
and then,
unless the city told us otherwise, but we're not proposing any connection to 17th.
okay. And just along the lines of some of these this questioning and your expertise and your projections about filling spaces and how you handle it, and the fact that you're going to keep ownership of the property after you build it, how many properties do you currently own and manage right now that are similar, that are market rate mixed use developments?
I don't have that. I know that nationally, because I just got an update on this week, we manage about 30,000 apartments.
About, right, in this region?
In this region, we manage, let's see, 1, 2, 3.
Approximately.
5, 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9.
So you guys are pretty good at what you do, and you're not new at this.
We're not new at this, no.
Yeah. Okay. Those are my only two questions, and all the rest of them have been answered. So, Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, this is probably self-evident, but do you have a tentative timeline I mean, assuming all the stars align, when are you ready to break ground and, you know, hand over keys?
I mean, honestly, the biggest component of the timeline is getting the approvals that we need, but let's say that the stars align. I think we would be ready to start in the first half of next year.
And you're totally self-financed and there's no like investor committee? And
We have an internal investment committee. This has been through that process. We do have an investor, that's why this has an LLC name. We've already formed joint venture, have that funding. The last piece is getting a construction loan, which you really can't get until you're closer to being shovel ready. But we have a whole finance team that helps with that.
Thank you.
Right. There are no further questions. Okay, with no further questions, I'll now close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Nutting.
Apologies, Mayor. I move to adopt draft resolution 25-052 approving the Woodmont Beach Apartment LLC development agreement and authorize the city manager to sign the development agreement substantially in the form as submitted.
Second? Second, give that to Councilmember Mahoney. Open for discussion. Councilmember Harris. And then Councilmember Nutting.
So I really want more housing in Des Moines, and this is one of the toughest items that I've ever had to consider. But I think I'm unique on the current council in that I do live very, very near many apartment buildings and condos, and I would just say after the meeting, people basically go to 216th and just head east. And I noticed something the other day. If you look at some of these buildings done in the 80s, they feel cool. And I don't mean fancy, I mean like they have shade and they have all of the parking spaces and all of the other stuff, but they have a sense of just lawns and I can see them being places where you can have a family and so forth. And one of the things I'm proudest of is that several of the apartment buildings were eligible for sound insulation as early as 1996, but did not get them until a couple of years ago. And so what I'm driving at is that I've noticed that as we've had other newer developments, they don't provide the sound insulation necessarily, and you can just feel the convection, the asphalt. They don't feel as just shade, tree, and so forth. And when we're putting up housing, these need to be places not just, to rent. They should be places that you really want to live. And to my mind, Pack Highway, you've got this highway, and you've got two overflying flight paths, and so I am struggling with this because I had expected by now that the council would have developed some better tree code and some better sound code, and if we had, they're on the board, at some point. I would feel much better if we could defer this until the council takes up both those issues, because I think I support the idea in principle, but I want these places to be places that people will want to stay, not for 2 years, but really feel like they, like a lot of the buildings on 216th, that people, they have a tenure. And I'm just not, I don't have enough information in this because of the process, of the DA process. I'm not comfortable that it's as to the livability thing. Those are my concerns. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Nutting, did I see you raise your hand earlier?
Yes, Mayor, you
All
did.
right, so you and then Councilmember Mahoney.
My only comments are is I was on the council when an approval for a methadone clinic was given behind the council's back. And I had to deal with the wrath of the neighborhood then. We have density that we need to meet. We don't have very many properties in Des Moines that we're able to build a project like this. Market rate creates gentrification of the area, which will, in time, take care of itself up there. I do have done plenty of ride-alongs with officers, and that Safeway parking lot is a continued patrol area that we've been in constantly. So I do know that our officers are doing the best they can to take care of proactively policing that area. And with the gentrification process, it alleviates the garbage and the other things that are being talked about there. Yes, there will be a full traffic impact study, and all of this will be fleshed out in the end. So I have no problem approving this development agreement and look forward to more information moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Mahoney.
I've been aware of this property from the Woodmont situation as well, the rehab facility that was attempted to go in there. And this is a far superior substitute to that. I envisioned that this property could have been a car dealership or an RV dealership or a box store. But in the current retail markets and so forth, that just isn't going to happen. It would have been a nice generator of revenue in that regard. We also don't have a lot of apartments down there on that corner. Now, yes, there's some in Cannon, there's some in Federal Way, but there's not that type of housing down in that corner at 272nd area and Pack Highway. And I think it fits the need to get that done. It is a nuisance property, and it has been, and it's been problematic to our police. I think this helps solve it. I think the problems that are perceived that will be occurring here won't be as great as the ones we already incur. It does meet a requirement that we or gets us a ways to what the housing we need to accomplish, the housing quotas that we need to accomplish. I'm fine with the retail. I think it'll actually be a more desirable location than some of the Redondo Square area right now. And so I think that the businesses, particularly the ones discussed, should do well and thrive. I am concerned about the impacts of the schools, but it is something Federal Way will have to do. Now, Federal Way and Kent have added a lot of schools or add a lot of apartments throughout their town, particularly Federal Way, and they're going to need to show a plan to accommodate that. But some of the studies here, I think, will give us some indications. They appear to be high-quality apartments, nice places to live, and I'm happy about that. I also am interested in what the traffic impacts will be from these studies, because I do see that as a problem. I see that people going south will want to use Pack Highway, and people going north will probably want to use 16th. When they try to cross, I think it'll be problematic. I know 16th has a lot of problems, and we're trying to do road repair there. Of course, if we had folks in parts of Federal Way and so forth that use this as a pass-through, if we could reduce that, that would be great. Maybe 509 will help with some of that. But I do believe it's a good use of the property, and I think at this stage, coming up with a development agreement is the least we can do to look at this further and pursue it and have it go through the processes that the public has the opportunity to speak on, and a hearing examiner and all the process that comes with it. I think it's a legitimate process that concerns will be voiced. There'll probably be some adjustments or changes to fit to the property as they hear from the public and they further research this. So I'm optimistic, and I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you know, some of you do. My kids went to Woodmont Elementary 20 years ago and the school was falling apart. It's needed to be rebuilt for a long time. I tried to push just to get the basketball court resurfaced because it was terrible. And, you know, it's unfortunate that Federal Way Schools is not here tonight. It's unfortunate that Federal Way Schools says maybe somewhere out there in the future you might be on the list. But it is Federal Way Schools. It's not, I wish the council could do something more about that, but we can't. There are going to be, I think their estimates are low on what the impact's going to be. But again, it's Federal Way School District, and you need to remember that's who you got to talk to and go make some noise with them. And I understand you live in Des Moines, but we don't have, I'm sorry, I can't engage. You know, Des Moines simply doesn't have control over the Federal Way Schools. And I wish we did. It would be a better place. I agree with a lot of the concerns that have been voiced about this development. Trying to fit it on there. I hope that the traffic patterns, that there's going to be a lot of input from the community. On 16, there should not be a left in, left out. Even if it's gated and limited to residents only. That street is not big enough and it has a lot of traffic. And there needs to be some calming, traffic calming pieces put on it. If there's going to be a significant increase to that. I'd also encourage you to look at least 2 right outs onto Pack Highway because that'll at least cut the backup internally and people won't be jumping out as far. All that being said, and there are some pretty legitimate concerns, there is a direct benefit to the city of Des Moines for this in a number of ways. One, we have the density requirements that we have to do, and this is what the future looks like to meet density requirements, not just in Des Moines, but throughout. It's going to be bigger apartment buildings because that's what we're required under state law to do, and that's going to be difficult for families to do. And as you'll hear if you stay around for the middle housing bill and the ADUs, there are going to be single-family home lots that are going to get additional units built on them because of the requirements of state law. And they've completely taken away single-family zoning, as far as I'm concerned at least, in this. So there's a benefit that we meet our state requirements. There's a benefit because I think that bringing in market rate apartments actually has the possibility of saving Redondo Square. Redondo Square is not in good shape, but if you have that many more people who are needing to make purchases there and can live in a market rate apartment and have the ability to spend their money there, that's going to actually help turn Redondo Square around. I wish the Rite Aid Corporation that is going to apparently close the Bartels there could hang on just a few more years because it's really convenient to do that. I commuted south for a long time. I still do, down to Tacoma. And so I am well aware of how dense it gets coming out on 16th and onto 272. But I think there are some definite advantages here, and I think this looks like a really nice development. And as indicated, there is a hole in the Des Moines market right now for this level of apartments. And I'm glad somebody's stepping up. The alternatives in the past have been terrible. They've been a huge drug rehabilitation and mental health treatment center for that finally got stopped because the community raised such a stink about it. That was my introduction to it. My wife was the president of the PTA at the Woodmont Elementary School there, so I have a long history in this neighborhood. Even before that, there was the proposal to put a big manufacturing plant making food for the airline industry in there. This is better. So I need to stop talking now. We don't have the button, but sometimes we get reminders, and it's appreciated. So I'm inclined to go forward with this, but I do want a commitment that you're going to listen to the community.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. This is a question for the city. Based on my speechifying, is there a conversation to be had, this is so weird, with the developer to address any concerns regarding landscaping or sound code? One cannot have a commitment, but it sounds like you have had many negotiations to get to this point. You've had a real voice in their proposal. So can you foresee, is this just a binary go or no go?
That's a great question, Councilmember Harris. Also, I'd say what originally was brought to us as the proposed project was affordable housing and did not include a retail component. And so I do feel like staff did an excellent job of working with the applicant to increase what this is to something that does have community benefit. I think obviously the applicant has heard the council's comments tonight, as have I. And since this is one step in what there will be additional ones coming for them to get full approvals, I hear the comments and we can absolutely work with them on that when we get into site development.
We went through this with the 216th, the townhomes, and they went from apartments to the townhomes, and I'm like, yeah, this is really, and I'm just, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the dais there? All right, just a couple of clarity points for me. This complies with the zoning that's there. We did receive correspondence about housing, and I think that's been clarified a little bit today, that single-family residential or just residential would not comply with the property zoning there. Any commercial application is going to have a set of impacts. I think if we were entertaining a different composition up there, there would be a different set of people here. There are going to be impacts no matter what we put on that big piece of property. And in regard to the single-family residential property adjacent to 16th, no matter what you put in there, especially if it was a big building with basically with the whole property covered with a roof, that 16th Avenue property would probably be used for the exact same purposes it is now, stormwater. It just isn't suitable for this property to stay vacant in a city like ours. We have very few opportunities for people to use space that's vacant. And I am so happy at the thought of it being activated with a nice property like that, and as has been mentioned, the ability to really reinvigorate Redondo Square with market rate population. It also is this is a great option for a developer who's got this kind of background and experience and done this kind of development before, so when they talk to us, they're coming from a point of view of experience and successful properties, managing successful properties into the future. I appreciated hearing that. And I guess last but not least, this is the kind of thing I ran on, and so it would be inappropriate for me to vote against this tonight. This is the thing that everybody asked me to do when I was doorbelling both times. And this is an opportunity to invite a lovely development into the community and increase housing at the same time. So according to my word, I must vote yes on this tonight. So, Councilmember Harris, you've already spoken twice. Oh, you would? Well, okay.
Yeah, I would like to move this to a second reading.
Do I have a second? All right, motion fails for lack of a second. I do have a comment. This has been before the council before, under discussion as well, so this is not the first touch. Okay, do I have a motion? Councilman? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. That's right. I have a note right here. Take it to a vote. So, take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oscar, Councilmember Grace Matsui, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Harris opposed. Motion passes 6-1. Thank you so much. Sometimes we do this. I know that some of you were here just for that, this segment, that public hearing segment. You're welcome to stay for the rest, but if you're planning on leaving, I'd like to give you this opportunity to do it if you would like. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, the purpose of, so next is, we have our second public hearing, and the subject is ADUs, which is accessory dwelling units. The purpose of this agenda item is for the City Council to consider the proposed accessory dwelling unit ordinance. I will now open the public hearing. We will begin with a staff presentation from Community Development Director Rebecca Deming.
Thank you. This one is discussing HB 1337, accessory dwelling units. What is 1337? In 2023, the legislature passed several housing and land use bills, including engrossed House Bill 1337. This is a state law requires all local governments in the state planning under the Growth Management Act to update their accessory dwelling unit regulations to comply with this bill by the end of June 2025. The purpose is to create more homes in Washington by increasing middle housing and accessory dwelling units and traditionally dedicated single-family detached housing. Accessory dwelling units is a dwelling unit located on the same lot as a single-family housing unit or middle housing unit. An ADU can be either attached or detached part of the structure and is subordinate or incidental to the main or primary unit. ADUs provide complete independent living facilities exclusive for one single housekeeping unit, including provisions for living, sleeping, cooking, and sanitation. The requirements of HB 1337 have been discussed at many previous meetings and are listed on the screen. This is a code update timeline showing when both ADUs and middle housing regulations have come before the council or committee. These regulation updates were first brought to committee in May and July of 2024. This past April, May gave a formal introduction to HB 1337 and provided draft amendments during Committee of the Whole, then continued the conversation at the following week at Council. At a council study session in May, staff proposed draft middle housing amendments, and staff continued that discussion the following week, which included ADU conversations. This brings us to today, where we're holding a public hearing recommending adoption of the draft ADU ordinance. City staff is proposing an ADU ordinance that amends the municipal code to comply with HB 1337. This proposed ordinance includes changes to impact fees, owner occupancy, number and configuration of ADUs, size, location, conversions, separate sales, and parking. So impact fees, with the requirement, we are required to have in the proposed ordinance to charge no greater than 50% of the proposed principal unit. We can no longer require any kind of owner occupancy, so that is being removed. We are proposing, per previous discussions, up to 3 ADUs on a lot in any configuration, attached or detached. We are proposing size to be up to, for between 350 and up to 1,200 square feet. We're keeping our same location standards, which is basically the standards of the underlying zone, basically the same setbacks as a single family requirement. We are permitting conversions per the state law. In other words, you can convert existing structures. You're permitted to sell them under condominium sales, or when we're expecting to see requirements for different kinds of subdivision requirements, but mostly it's condominium right now. And per the new parking regulations that are going into effect, no parking was required for units under 1,200 square feet, and since all ADUs will be 1,200 square feet, there'd be no parking requirements for ADUs. City staff is, and here's all of it together, city staff is recommending council approve ordinance 25056 relating to land use updating regulations related to accessory dwelling units. Happy to answer any questions you have, and it's going to a hearing, or if it goes to the hearing, public hearing first, and then it would go to questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So now it's time for the public comment portion of the public hearing. Please keep your comments respectful and understand that anyone who's speaking and acting in a way that's disruptive to the meeting will be asked to leave. If you do come to the podium, please state your name and city of residence. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. So we do not have anybody signed up for this portion of the public hearing tonight. Is there anyone who didn't sign up to speak but wishes to speak from this portion? Come on up.
My name is Aris Toker. We own a commercial.
Aris?
Aris Toker.
Toker? Thank you.
We own a commercial building in downtown Des Moines. I have 35 years experience that our family sold into retailers starting from Frederick and Nelson Macy's. I will tell you that retail as we knew it is completely dead. I think that one of the best density plays that the council could make is rezoning some of the CD zoning to allow for some single-family housing in downtown, and it would revitalize downtown Des Moines quite a bit, I think. When we bought our building in 2017 or 18, we never had a problem with homelessness and drug use and things like that, and now we do. I also am with Yen Designs. We created the Eras Dadu, which some of you may have heard of in Seattle. It's one of the pre-approved plans. It's a 1,089 square foot Dadu. It's the most popular, as far as I know right now, the most popular Dadu plan in Seattle. And it really does a great job of solving the middle housing issue. 2-bedroom, 3.5 bath, or excuse me, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Really great unit. And I think that you'll see a lot of those here. In the time that I've spent in Des Moines for our other companies, I'm in real estate. We also own a couple of legacy companies selling into retail, which are not doing as well anymore. The real estate side has done much better for us now. I will say that the downtown area is some of the lowest hanging fruit that you guys have that you could redevelop and do things like this high density housing that you just approved over here. And I think it would be a great idea because you have the chance to be something like a Kirkland downtown waterfront versus what it is right now, where it's just a really difficult place to do anything retail. That's it. I hope that you guys do some pre-approved plans so that developers like me, we can come in and start developing these backyard houses at a fast pace. I think that would be really fantastic. In Seattle, it takes us about 6 months to build a unit. And they're pre-approved for permitting, so we can be in and out within 9 months to a year. That's it. Time's up.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who did not sign up to speak, who wishes to speak on this subject? Second call, is there someone who did not sign up to speak but wishes to speak? And third call, is there anyone who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak on this subject? All right, thank you. Pass that back to you. So, council, do you have any questions? Please, questions only at this time. Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the design standards and how it must match or complement the style, materials, and color of the primary residence. And when a question was posed to council and council member or council managers, not council, city manager Caffrey responded to us. I think you accidentally provided an example of something that actually I would have no problem with. So what we did is we got a picture of a brick house that had an ADU stuck onto it that was stick, right? That was wood. And I'm actually all right with that because adding masonry to a brick house would be so cost prohibitive that no one would do it. But if you look around the city, when you see stick houses, wood frame houses all over with other boxes all attached to them, I mean, the one in that picture actually looked better than some of the ones I've seen in my neighborhood. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about paint, or like, I know who decides about if it meets or is complementary to the design standard, because I really hope that we're not telling someone, no, your house is blue, so this ADU has to be blue.
It doesn't have to match. The idea is that the architectural is similar. I think part of that one, the reason we provided that one is the roof lines don't line up. They're different styles. They're different ideas. Yes, one's siding and one's brick. But the idea is that the intent is to make it look like it's a natural progression of the development, and that you're not getting completely a modern and a craftsman that are attached, weirdly. It's meant to be complementary to each other. And that's, it's meant to follow similar to what we had before. Again, we had something a similar language in there. And so it was just trying to update it to keep it similar, but yet make sure that we didn't have someone trying to go completely off the rails, I guess, is what I was trying to go with.
Right, and I guess my rails might be different than your rails, but so it would be up to permitting to decide that, or who would?
It is administrative approval, so yes.
Exactly. So I think one of the parts about this design standard to me is it's a bit subjective, and maybe if there were, and maybe there are, you can educate me, there's some better written guidelines to say, like, what are we talking when we say architectural style materials? Complementary, not has to match or has to be the same, but complementary. Is there any way to do that? And actually pre-permitting something would help with that in that regard as well. So how do we communicate those guidelines to someone who wants to build something?
I mean, yes, we could go through a pre-approval process. That is a program that we could look into. There's a new bill that allows us to kind of do that through a specific architecture, and that's something that I was looking into, of maybe going through a specific program instead of us approving, like us paying for plans, but maybe working with specific architects to say, hey, we can approve your plan and you can resell this plan and approve it, and sell it because we've approved this plan, so you could sell it because we've pre-approved that one plan. And so that's one thing I was looking at, trying to do a program like that with the new bill. I don't know how else to explain it.
We could use some of Rebecca's words, which would be, factors that will be considered include the original roof line, the proposed roof line, the original material, the proposed material. So like if that would help provide some guidance, because you're right, it does appear like how literal are we going to be? And so I think we could use, honestly, some of the points Rebecca just raised, if, as.
That's helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Oxiger and then Councilmember Harris.
Yes, thank you. So the way this is set up with the ADUs is that the primary residence is responsible for the construction of the the accessory dwelling units, right?
Yeah, I mean, the property owner could build,
Property owner, so-
would build accessory dwelling. Yeah.
So, yeah, so say we've got somebody with a Victorian house, and it's not practical to build Victorian houses these days, and so they want to build something around it, and we're also then talking about condoizing or subdividing the property, you know, later. Would the restrictions on, again, the primary one that I'm concerned about is the color question. People repaint their houses all the time. And, I mean, would the people in the ADUs and be then, you know, have to go back and seek approval of the original home as far as what the, I mean, basically, it sounds like we're putting HOA codes in.
I mean, no, the intent is again to be complementary, so if you've got neutral tones, neutral tones. It's again, not intended to seek approval after painting, just as when you do subdivisions, we look at our design guidelines and go through it. If it's got shutters, does the addition have shutters? It's all complementary, again, similar roof lines, not to be exactly Victorian. If you've got Victorian, are they complementary to each other?
Okay, so but that's very subjective, and you know, again, I can kind of see the rationale when it comes to
Keep it to a
materials.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but what we're not saying is that the original property would have any kind of veto power over what goes on with the subsequent
After
properties,
it's built.
if they want to change the color of the paint.
We don't currently have a process for that, no. So no.
I think though what we're hearing is a concern of this is subjective and what if somebody got this language and was just really heavy-handed? And I think that's a fair comment. So, you know, I think looking at it, we can add some guidelines like I just suggested to sort of say, here are things we consider. I think color may be one we want to take out, maybe that's maybe too much. Shutters is maybe too much, but looking at roof lines and general materials. So we can like kind of play with this language and try to give a little bit more parameters to it. The alternative, which I think you all understand that we're trying to avoid, is it becomes super mishmashy. And definitely beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That Councilmember Grace Matsui liked the picture we sent. But you get what the intent is, right? It's to really kind of preserve some character of neighborhoods, which is something we did hear was important to people.
Are you good?
I don't have any more questions.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go with Councilmember Harris and then Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I would have bet $20 there would have been no questions, and, but my question is, because this is such a new concept, it's more of a hope or whatever, but basically that we are tracking these projects.
Question, please.
Yes,
Councilmember Harris.
do we have the capacity to track these projects by type and so forth? Because I heard from the previous planning director that was challenging. Just gathering data as to these things, and I'm just.
Questions? Keep it to
That is a question.
Yes, we can track accessory dwelling units.
Okay, by like, you know, the number of units, the type, or just neighborhood, that sort of thing.
I would be able to run a report of accessory dwelling units, and I could do the address, and then we would have to sort it separately. But that's.
All right, thank you. I think that'll be valuable.
All right, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and then Councilmember Nutting.
Yeah, thank you. Rebecca, I just want to make clear, the design standards only apply at the development phase.
That's
when
correct.
they're asking for the permits and things like that. It doesn't apply after. I'm asking if that's clear.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. My only question is on the motion. Are we approving the motion here? Are we moving it to second reading so you can word shop the language?
I think that's a question for staff. Well, or.
I think it's a council decision of, do you feel comfortable with what I've said back to you as I think I'm gathering what some of the concerns are. And if so, then we can update that language, given this direction, and we could move forward tonight. If you feel like you really want to see that language, then we would bring back next week.
Okay.
Would you have time to bring it back next week?
We have to bring it back in 2 weeks because it's due June 30th. So we have to bring it back on the 26th, and we will need some type of vote.
So if
Okay.
we don't meet.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't meet next week. Yeah, the 26th.
26th. So it would be the next meeting. It would
Yes,
be
sorry.
the next meeting. Was that your only question, Councilmember?
Correct, Mayor. Thank you.
Jean, excuse me, Councilmember Oxiger.
Thank you. So I just would like a clarification on the question that Deputy Mayor Steinman said. You're saying that these design requirements only pertain to the initial application, that nobody could come back then and say, I want to change the color, that's something that, or if one of the units says, well, I want to change the color, that's not compatible, that the original homes can, because the question here is, it's kind of like when you've got a PUD, we have buffer zones and everything that have to be maintained. It goes with the property, the buffer zones, and people can't come in and just say, we're going to change that sort of thing. So we're assured that we're not going to be in the business of regulating color.
That's definitely a business I don't want to be in. But I just got, Rebecca said while she was speaking that we do not, nobody turns in a permit to paint their house, right?
Right.
And so, and I just checked with the city attorney of, well, what do we do if there was a violation? And again, we don't have a process for when people change their house. So if you built an ADU that was, khaki colored to match your house, and then you decide tomorrow you're going to paint your house lime green, you can do that.
But the other people in the original property, though, can't object to the fact that you've changed it
To be fair, if you condominiumize it and you write your own CC&Rs, that's a private contract. But we would not get involved as the city.
Okay. That's my concern, is that we not get into that role.
That's correct. We would not get in that role.
Okay. I'm a little concerned about moving on to a motion if it's going to fail, if there's a majority of people that would like to actually, if we wanted to put something on a future agenda, we just need 3 head nods, correct, at this point?
Can I ask a
Unless
question?
you have okay? You have a question?
So on this, with the motion if we
You
have the motion tonight and say it's approved, as far as clarifying language, that can be added at any time later with just an amendment, correct?
Well, we would need an amendment tonight in order to change it, and then you would need to approve it.
Yeah, I was just saying that we wouldn't be on a time scale. Maybe there's more time to get the language right. But initially, we'd have what we have today, which is in compliance with the House bill.
Yes.
And so you're just saying, somebody could come forward with new business to amend this in the future?
It's not a big detailed, not as many of us move forward. That's something that could be handled in the normal course of business over the next several months.
If I may.
Yes, Councilmember Nutting.
I know it's the time for questions, but I think if I were allowed to make the motion, I could wordsmith it enough to get us by tonight with the intent of everything.
We would need to.
Yeah, so I'm gonna wait till thank you for the offer.
Understood. No, I understand that we have to close the public meeting before the motion's made, but I'm just saying, to Councilmember Mahoney's point.
Okay. Any other questions here? All right. I am going to close the public hearing. Now, we're moving toward the motion. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to make your offer, Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve draft ordinance 25-056 relating to the land use, updating regulations related to accessory dwelling units, amended with comments received by council tonight.
Is that a valid motion, City Attorney?
I mean, it's a valid motion. I think you have a little bit of difficult, just really kind of defining and
Can
maybe.
I propose some alternate language for this clause?
For a price.
How about you vote and we keep going? So the item is, it's design standards under section 3, number 3. It currently reads, design standards, the ADU shall be consistent and complementary with the architectural style, materials, and colors of the primary residence. I would propose for your consideration that that be replaced with design standards. The ADU shall be complementary with the architectural style and materials of the primary residence. Components considered include materials and roof line. So I've removed the word consistent, which can sometimes make people think we mean identical. And I've removed color, and then I've tried to add a couple examples of like factors we would look at.
So I would, with your approval, Councilmember Nutting, with your motion, if we read it like this, updating regulations related to accessory dwelling units in accordance with the comments made by the city manager.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's my motion. What she said.
And I'll second that.
Okay, and you got that? Do I need to write that down? Somebody else has that? You got it? Okay. So, and you seconded that? Approved and seconded. Okay, discussion. Okay, I've got some comments then. Just comments about, there she is, Rebecca. The comparison chart was so helpful. Thank you. And I also, just as a little bit of an aside comment, well done with the previous public hearing. I think community development directors don't go to school and get their degrees and sign up to be recorded in public and on a community television station thinking that a response from the public is going to happen like that. And you handled yourself so well. So thank you. All right, so back to this public hearing. I'm happy with the amendment, so. All right, if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to take it to a vote. I'll raise your right hand if you're in favor. Oh, wow, 7-0, thank you.
You're welcome, Rebecca. Would you all, because we do have some members of the public here, like to do the airport item?
Okay, thank
I'm
you
just
for that
throwing it out as a
recommendation.
Consideration given tonight.
Absolutely. So we're, actually, do we need to ask the council 3 head nods? 3 head nods for that? All right, thank you. Well, you do have to get an approval. So, we're going to delay the public hearing number 3 for a moment, change around and move to unfinished business, the Airport Advisory Committee. The purpose of this item is for City Council to consider the establishment of an ad hoc airport committee. And we have a presentation by Community Development Director Rebecca Deming.
Thank you. The council discussed and directed staff to establish and advertise at the February 6th and March 13th meetings. Based on the discussion, staff prepared and proposed the resolution establishing an ad hoc committee to address issues related to the SeaTac Airport. The committee acts in an advisory capacity to the City Council, providing recommendations and advice on airport-related matters. The committee consists of 5 community members. The city's 2 START representatives will serve on the committee, as well as 3 members of the public who are either residents or business owners of the city of Des Moines. Committee members shall serve for 2-year terms and should have a reasonable understanding of airport-related issues or willingness to learn as necessary. Since the city already has a START representative, council directed staff to reach out directly about interest, and he has agreed to sit on the advisory committee. Staff is recommending appointments of that existing START representative to the committee, along with the 4 mayoral recommendations to make up the 5 members. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is I'm recommending that we break this up to, we'll have this first motion. The first motion that's going to come forward is about forming the ad hoc committee. The second motion would be in regard to Joe Disenberry, and then a third motion combining 3, 4, 5, and 6 by just adding the names, okay? So the first motion that we're going to, well, first of all, questions before the first motion. Any questions for? All right, so I'm opening for motion number 1, Councilmember Mahoney.
I move to approve draft resolution 25-034, establishing an ad hoc committee to address issues related to SeaTac Airport.
Second, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the second discussion. All right, take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, oh, good, 7-0, excellent. Okay.
Would you like me to continue?
Yeah, sure, motion number 2. So, first of all, and I'm going to ask this right now, questions before any of these motions? So we're taking separate motions, no questions? Okay, so motion number 2, go ahead, Councilmember Mahoney.
I move to appoint Joe Dusenberry to an open position of the Des Moines Airport Advisory Committee effective immediately and expiring on December 31st, 2027.
Second, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the second. Any discussion?
Joe's a solid dude.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to continue on and bring your expertise and experience that you've had with START so far, so I really appreciate your service.
Anything else? Okay, so that's it for discussion and comments. Take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, excellent. Okay, so next up is motions 3 through 6, and I do have a question. Sorry I didn't remember this question before at the head. Are we going to ask if we appoint these 4 people, are we going to ask one of these people to also serve as our second member of START? Are we going to continue to look? Okay, we're going to ask these people.
It'll be one of the people.
One of the 4? All right, thank you. That was my only question. Councilmember Mahoney, you may continue if you'd like to take motions 3 through 6.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to confirm the mayoral appointment of Jeffrey Bogan, Barton DeLacy, Todd Downing, Steve Reagan to the open positions on the Des Moines Airport Advisory Committee effective immediately and expiring on December 31st, 2027.
Second by motion by Councilmember Mahoney, second by Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. Discussion. All right, take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Excellent. Congratulations, gentlemen. All right.
We are prepared to go very fast on middle housing.
All right, so let me pull it back. All right, so we are, I'll wait till, come on up. All right, so next up is our public hearing number 3, and the subject is middle housing. The purpose of this agenda item is for the City Council to hold a public hearing to consider the proposed middle housing ordinance. I will now open the public hearing. We'll begin with a staff presentation from from Planning and Development Services Manager, Laura DeChico.
I have asked Laura to go very speedy. You all have heard this presentation now multiple times, but we're happy to answer questions. Laura?
I do need the next presentation, though.
Cora, can you start talking about the item that you came from?
Yeah. So, yes, we have seen this presentation before. We've done similar formats to ADUs. So we've been working on this similar to ADUs for over a year, preparing draft code amendments to comply, in this case, with House Bill 1110. And we have gotten input from the City Council over the last few months, and this new draft ordinance incorporates that. So for background for the public, middle housing refers to housing types that fall between single-family homes and larger apartment buildings. These include things like duplexes, townhomes, and cottage housing. And typically, these are targeted for single-family zones and low-density multifamily zones. This is looking familiar, and this is the same slide that Rebecca gave on the progression of these discussions. So we did a number, in addition to those, we did pretty robust public outreach, website, stakeholder meetings, public meetings, farmers market. And so the House bill gives 9 options for middle housing types. You must adopt at least 6. So we have selected or proposed duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, stacked flats, which are one unit on top of the other, cottage housing, and townhouses, which are side by side. As I said, these are targeted for single-family and low-density middle multifamily zones. We had a number, like 3 main discussion topics as we brought these forward under House Bill 1110. We must allow at least 2 units per lot on all lots, at least 4 if you're within a quarter mile of transit, or 1 unit of affordable. And so the direction received was to simplify this and to mesh it with the ADU bill, allowing up to 4 units per lot or 24 dwelling units per acre, with at least up to 3 ADUs on any lot. The second of the discussion items related to size and scale. So the intent on scale of these is that you've got ADUs on the small side, single-family homes, middle housing, large density, multifamily. And so to distinguish scale between cottage housing and ADUs, we've proposed the 350 minimum for ADUs up to 1,200, and overlap that with cottage housing, 800 to 1,600 square feet for those. Parking requirements, as we started this discussion, House Bill 1110 has some minimum parking requirements that were lower than what our code currently allows for, and in the meantime, there was a Senate Bill 5184 came in with even lower requirements. That was passed while we were discussing this, so the direction received at the last meeting was for the purposes of these current code amendments, to adopt the residential portions of that code. So no parking requirements for anything under 1,200 square feet, and only 1 parking stall for single and middle housing. And that leads to a motion which is slightly modified from what's in the packet. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. It's now time for the public comment portion of the public hearing. Please keep your comments respectful and understand that anyone speaking or acting in a disruptive manner will be removed from the meeting. Please state your name and city of residence. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. No one? We had. So, is there anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak? Second call, anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak? And third call, anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak? All right, it's time for council questions. Council, do you have any questions? Please, questions only. Councilmember, excuse me. I'm going to take a moment here. I think we need to extend the meeting. I would like to extend the meeting to 9:15. And I'm going to make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Councilmember Oxford, Councilmember Harris, Councilmember Grace, all 7-0. Thank you. Okay, so meeting's extended to 9:15. All right, council questions. Councilmember Oxker, was that you?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So effectively, the motion's gone. So by the motion regarding the zoning, we're effectively eliminating single-family residence, single-family zoning, right?
It would still be single-family, but you would be allowed to add additional types of units on there.
Single-family only zoning, correct?
Right.
Okay.
You're still allowed to build single-family, we just can't restrict it to single-family only.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Other questions? Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. We did receive, I think this went to the whole council, a question about minimum square footage for cottages. And I want to apologize that I didn't bring this up earlier. And I was looking for any interest on the council to talk about like what the average is around other cities. What the comment was to me was that 800 square feet is actually pretty high for the minimum of a cottage, and would we consider taking it down lower? So I didn't know comparatively what other cities were adopting, or if that's something that you would consider the feasibility.
Each city differs a little bit. I did read that the average is about 1,200 square feet for a cottage house. You know, our ADU range is currently a little higher than the average. I mean, but the scale intent is that accessory dwelling units are on the smaller side, and then cottage housing is a little bigger than that. So you want some overlap, but not necessarily all the way down.
Right. So, but it seems to me, so currently, or in the proposal that we just put forward for accessory dwellings, that if you wanted it to have cottage-like features, meaning a shared common area around an amenity, you could do that with the 3 ADUs at a smaller size. And it wouldn't be called type cottage, but it could have some of those features, right?
Correct.
So you could have 3 ADUs that were 600 square feet each, but they shared a common lawn or public area, barbecue pit. Right, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilmember Harris.
I asked this last time, I'm so sorry I have to, but basically to address, because this is, again, I keep coming back to this being the grand experiment. I was told that it would not be particularly difficult to change the code if we find out that, you know, this thing, this one limitation, you know, needs to be tweaked and so forth. Okay, I mean, we can try things, and then if they don't work, it's not onerous to the city to make some adjustments to things like that.
It's an advertised public hearing and bringing it back. It's not too big of a deal if we know what you're looking for.
Sweet, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I can't see. Oh, Councilmember Nutting, no questions? Councilmember Grace Matsui, second one.
I think I found it, but I want to make sure. So the design standards for the middle housing doesn't have the language about paint, architectural style that we debated in this last.
Correct. There are some design standards, a few for cottage housing, like a porch on the front and fronting on common areas, but no, it doesn't.
Okay. So that's not something that we need to talk about here. Great. I had one more. I can't. You might have to come back to me. Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, no worries. So I do have a couple. There was a question from the same resident. Could you clarify the reason, pros, cons of cottage housing on 2 sides of common area? Did you get that? You got that question as well?
Yeah, so I mean, the intent of cottage housing is to be clustered around a common area. And so, you know, without being at least 2 sides, you're essentially
creating a front yard.
Single-family front yard.
Okay.
So that is kind of a standard design feature, similar to a courtyard apartment. You're clustered at least 2 sides around a common shared space. So I think it was mentioned you could take 350 square foot detached ADUs and cluster them in a similar fashion. But I think that the direction we got earlier was let's cap it at 3. And then anything more than that, you know, cottage housing can provide some additional design standards.
So if there's, let's say somebody has a single-family residence on a very large lot right now and they want to do cottage housing, if the cottages are facing the existing principal residence, does the principal residence then become one of the cottages? And would it have to comply with the maximum square footage for cottages?
Become one of the cottages? I guess it
Exactly.
would, but
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Otherwise, the other.
I'm trying to figure out where the question exactly is coming from, but I think that they're trying to consider what can be done, right? There are people in the city who are trying to,
And the principal residence would be likely greater than that 1,200.
okay,
And treated kind of separately. We had the visual where, you know, the single families are in white, and, you know, that's kind of its own use. Middle housing is a slightly different type of use.
okay,
So, yeah, the cottage housing would be treated as its own entity.
okay. Those are my questions. And, all right. Looks like questions are over, double checking, and I will now close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Can you bring it back up?
Okay, thank you. The motion. It's on page 134.
No, they modified it, and they had the new one up on the,
It's modified from the presentation you received to match the motion in your packet.
okay. Well, okay, I move to approve draft ordinance 25-057 relating to zoning and the regulation of middle housing.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz got that one. Sorry, Councilmember Nutting. All right, so there's a motion and second discussion. Councilmember Harris and then Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I just want to, for the umpteenth time, I want to thank the staff for all of the work on this, especially the flexibility. I keep coming back to it being an experiment, and I look at the, basically our just zoning, and it looks to me like an endless list of if-then-else kind of deals. And I think that's a fool's errand, and that providing as much flexibility, I think people will figure it out, and they will do reasonable things on everything from roof lines to stylish paint colors. If we were reasonable about this stuff, and the more rules, the more work, which I hate. So thank you very much for coming up with something that I think really will serve us well into the future.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I want to compliment the staff on the work that they've done on this and ADUs. This was a long haul. It was a lot of work, and we had a lot of questions, and you've answered them all. You've incorporated what the suggestions are very well, and you've really produced a very nice product. And I just want to say thank you very much for that. And I would compliment Council Member Grace Matsui for her first question that was law school worthy of figuring out how to get what you wanted. So that was pretty good. So anyway, but thank you all.
Any other discussion? I appreciated the question that came in from the resident, and I am in favor, if there's anybody who would go along with me, of amending the cottage housing minimum size to 500. And this is why. Because with the 24 units per acre and anybody's desire to develop cottage housing with only 3 ADUs allowed for cottage development, you could end up with little towers in people's properties trying to get enough cottages into a smaller space if they're trying to avoid environmental impacts like slopes and wetlands onto a space. You could end up, because of the minimum size of cottages, with 3-story buildings. Now, I don't know. So anyway, that's a scenario that's probably rare, and the fact that even in my neighborhood and places in Normandy Park and North Hill, that is the size of little developments of houses that size that are going for, $500,000. So that, the cost of building a whole bunch of cottages this size is getting pretty high to the point where it isn't affordable housing anymore. And are people going to be able to do that? Will that truly be affordable housing, especially if you can condominiumize them? So that's why I am in favor of reducing the size of cottages. All right. So my motion is, my motion is currently to reduce the size of cottage housing to a minimum of 500 square feet. And you got a second on that still, Councilmember Harris? Any discussion? Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to get everybody's perspective on making this reduction and making this change. I think it does go to affordability and how many cottages, because they're meant to be in a cluster, right? And so 800 square foot is the size of a small real house, not just a cottage. And so I think lowering it to 500 gives that flexibility if someone wants to do 700, 750, 600. Like, not everything is going to end up being exactly 500, but it gives us a range and the possibility of different ideas and configurations. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, so all in favor of reducing the minimum size of cottage housing to 500 square feet, raise your right hand. Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris, Councilmember Grace Matsui, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Mahoney, and Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. Motion passes 3-4. All right, so that is inside of the original motion, moving to approve the draft ordinance 25057. Any more discussion on that? All right, all in favor of the original motion, raise your right hand. 7-0, passes. Awesome. All right. So that moves us forward. We've got 8 minutes left. I'm going to recommend that I skip introduction of new business. Okay, with no objections. And I don't believe that we've got time for council member reports. What I would do is offer about one subject per council member. Pick from your reports if you have one. So I will begin with Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I would report it on skip, or not skip, but pick, and
that was it.
That was it. So,
all right.
Is this council member? I'm sorry, Mayor. Point of order. Is this comments or?
This is council member reports.
Okay, so
Council member comments.
At 9:15 we expire and we're done.
We've got 7 minutes. I'm asking each person if you have a report to pick one so that you get an opportunity to say something during this time. All right, Deputy Mayor Mahoney.
Gosh. I just want to thank Mike Slevin and the staff for an awesome event at the Veterans Memorial on Memorial Day. Thanks.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk. I did go to the opening day of the farmers market. It was packed those first 2 hours, and it was really exciting to see all the turnout and all the energy that we do on opening day, but it just seemed a bit extra that morning. And I hope that folks come back, come to some of those events that Travis talked about coming up in the future every Saturday from now until the end of September from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Congratulations to our new airport committee. And if any of you are out there watching, I hope you will attend the Burien Airport Committee meeting next week, because they've been at it since 2018, and it is good to sort of, have role models. Thank you.
Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, I'd just like to remind everybody that Saturday is the Legacy Foundation's Bayside Sneaker Ball, raising funds for various projects around town, including swim lessons at the Mount Rainier Pool, scholarships for our kids at Parks and Rec. I can't remember. Various other project stuff. It's from 5 until 10 on Saturday, and I understand that there are some tickets left, but when you go to the website, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom to get the individual tickets, because if you go to the previously stated ones and stuff, they say that they're sold out. But I understand there still are individual tickets available, and it's a huge effort to help our disadvantaged youth and seniors in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Nutting.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused, but I don't have any committee reports or anything like that. I do have some comments, and they can be safe.
Pick one. Go for it.
Pick one. I will. I will pick a report. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. 1.6 million men attempt suicide in the United States. 600,000 of them succeed every year. That's 58,000 a month, 14,000 a week, 2,000 a day, 86 per hour, and almost 2 per minute. So if you know somebody that one in 5 adults are dealing with mental health issues. So if you know somebody, ask them if they're thinking about killing themselves. Keep them safe, stay calm, be there for them, help them connect, and follow up. So dial or text 988 or text the crisis line 741-741 with hello or help, and they will get you the help that you need. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Well, I'm going to pick one of the best days I've had since I've been elected. I had a 16-year-old Maritime High School student shadow me on Wednesday. Is that yesterday? No, it was Tuesday. Wednesday. Oh my gosh, seems like a month ago. He was so delightful. He followed me around. He got to meet about 5 different mayors from South County. We visited Stormfest. It was such a great educational experience. Hundreds of students down there. He's in marine biology, so he loved that event, and I love that event. It was fantastic to be able to showcase our city to a young person and have them be so excited about what a city does. And I was so thankful to the staff. He got to meet Scott Wilkins spent some time hosting us down at the marina. Bonnie was so amazing, helping us, hosting us, getting lunch for us. Mike Slevin took us on this fantastic tour of Public Works Yard. Adam O'Donnell was fantastic. Really, we got a tour of the shop. Chief Bo was so gracious giving us a tour of PD. And it was an experience that was really fun for me. I had never been all the way through the Public Works Yard and inside the shop, so I love the experience for myself. So proud of our city, so proud of our staff, so thankful that he, even as a young person, was deeply impressed by how kind, generous, gracious everybody was. He's excited about living here in the city of Des Moines, so that was such a pleasure. Well, this concludes our meeting for this evening. The next meeting date will be June 26th, and it will be a city council business meeting. Please remember to pick up after yourself on your way out. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, do you have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Second, Councilmember Grace Matsui, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you.